What's up guys, this is YeahBuoy. This is my cruiser commander skill guide. I asked y'all in one of my previous videos which tiers y'all wanted to see, and the most popular tier that y'all mentioned was tier 8. After that was tier 7, and I already said that I was going to do tier 10. So what I really want to do with this guide is a few things. First, I want to go through all of these tier 8 ships and set them up without knowing what I'm going to do beforehand. So I have not looked at, for example, the elite skills. I haven't decided which equipment I'm going to use. I have not decided at all which commander skills I'm going to use for any of these ships. So I'm going to show you what goes through my mind when I'm setting these up. And what I really want to do is teach y'all how to think for yourselves so that you don't have to rely on me to set up your commanders. I don't want y'all to just find a build that I have and use it simply because that's what I'm using, because we all have different playstyles. I have an aggressive playstyle, and the decisions that I make in-game are going to be different than the decisions you're going to make in-game, because we're all free thinkers. We're not robots, and we don't all make the same decisions at the same time. So I want you all to be able to evaluate your playstyle and make decisions on the way you're going to build your ship based on the way that you play. So always keep in mind that the way that I'm building my ships matches my playstyle, but I'm hoping that if I can teach you all the things that need to be taken into account when you're making your builds, hopefully you'll be able to make these decisions on your own. You won't need to ask me for help. You won't need to ask other people what they're using, or simply ask in general, what's the best build for the Wichita? What's the best build for the Takao? Because I don't think there is a best build in general. I think that there are better builds for certain playstyles. Like, I think that I'm going to make a really good aggressive playstyle build, but that build isn't going to be applicable to players that play conservatively, or if they play as support ships rather than aggressors. So after I do that for tier 8, all these tier 8 ships, I have already set up my commander skills for tier 7 and 10, and I'm going to walk you through them. And what you're going to notice is that I don't make the same choices for tier 7 that I make for tier 10, and there's reasons behind that. So if you do want to plan ahead, and if you plan on upgrading your tiers all the way to your ships all the way to tier 10, and using the same commander without resetting them, you're going to want to take that into account, because some of the decisions that I make for tier 7 and 8 are going to be bad decisions for tier 10. So unless you want to spend gold to reset your commander at tier 10, then I highly suggest just forwarding well, first off, watch the way that I set these ships up so you can make your own decisions. But if you do happen to have an aggressive playstyle like me, and you think that my builds are good for yourself and the way that you play, then just fast forward to the end of the video where I'm going to show my tier 10 build, because you're not going to want to use my tier 7 and 8 commander builds for your tier 10 ship. Alright, so let's start with the Wichita. First thing I'm going to do is elite this ship. Elite bonus. So I have fire and flooding resistance 15%, ship hit points 1%, torpedo damage reduction 7%, fire and flooding resistance 7%. I never go with XP bonus because I find these a lot more useful on every single ship, just about every single ship actually. And I prefer to, the way that I like to play this game, I actually enjoy a lot of different tiers. And so I also never go with XP bonus because I can actually enjoy the ship a whole lot more and enjoy the grind a whole lot more when my ship is funner to play. I mean, the best thing about this game is that you don't have to play with the mindset that it's going to become fun once I get to the higher tier. What's nice about this game is that it's already fun, and you don't have to get to a higher tier to have more fun. So, first off, make sure that you're choosing things that are going to make the ship fun to play. And generally, ships are always fun to play if you're doing a lot of damage and surviving. So when you're making an elite bonus choice, do you want to have better survival or do more damage? So we have fire and flooding resistance, hit points, damage reduction, flooding resistance, stuff like that. And I'm actually probably going to I might make that choice later. First, let's look at let's evaluate this ship based on the stats. Because I've never played the Wichita, as far as I remember anyways. And I haven't worked my way up the American cruiser line on my personal account. This is my press account for those that didn't know. So I have everything unlocked on the press account in order to make it easier to make videos. But on my personal account, I've not worked my way up the cruiser line, the American cruiser line at all. So this thing, the first thing that I'm noticing is that its turn time, it's pretty maneuverable. It has a 6.3 second turn time. If we look at these other ships, actually looks like, yeah, the Wichita has a faster turn time than any of the other Tier 8 cruisers. It has a 14.7 second acceleration, which is faster than most of the Tier 8 cruisers. If I said Tier 7 earlier, I meant to say Tier 8. The main guns has 9 main guns, reload time of 9 seconds, that's good. It's got more AP damage than high explosive damage. AP means armor penetration, by the way. 9 degrees a second turret traverse speed. And it's got pretty good anti-aircraft damage. Alright, so let's go take an elite skill. So ask yourself, do you need more fire and flooding resistance? Do you need more hit points or damage reduction? So I don't think that you actually need more hit points. Fire and flooding resistance is 15%, so that's a strength that you have. 15% is higher than normal. Let's look at these other ships. The fire and flooding resistance, 10% on these other ships, 12.5%. So the Wichita has the best fire and flooding resistance in its class. And you can either strengthen that even more with 15% more, which, by the way, if you add 15%, the stat is not going to become 30%. It's not 15 plus 15. It's 15 times 1.15. Just 15 times 1.15. That's what's going to give you the new total. 15 times 1.15. Torpedo damage reduction is at 10.5%. Considering how well this ship maneuvers, turning around in 6.3 seconds faster than all the other ships, you should be able to dodge torpedoes better than any other Tier 8 cruiser. So because of that, I don't think you need additional torpedo damage reduction if you know how to dodge and bait torpedoes. So I'm going to boost its strength right here. I'm going to go with additional fire and flooding resistance. Now, if you're not confident in your ability to dodge torpedoes, or if you get wrecked a lot, you're going to want to go with this internal bulkhead upgrade for additional hit points and survivability. Like the combo. Especially from torpedoes. If you get wrecked by destroyers a lot, you're going to want to go with more torpedo damage reduction. So let's equip this with some supplies. Auto resupply. Make sure you have auto resupply in your consumables. I'm going to add camouflage, which gives me 4% more hit points, firing range, anti-aircraft range, and torpedo damage reduction. 6%. That's a lot. So notice my torpedo damage reduction is now 11.13%. It didn't add an entire 6% total. It just increased the amount that it already had by 6%. It was multiplying it by 1.06. So for equipment, the way I determine equipment is, do I want more? It's generally between these three right here. Do I want more accurate shots? Do I want more frequent shots? Or do I want better maneuverability of my main guns if I'm having to turn around a lot? I generally go with more accurate shots than more frequent shots. And on some ships, I go with more traverse speed on the main battery, depending on how slow the main battery is, because I do dodge a lot, and most of the ships I play have torpedoes, so I turn around a lot. So this ship doesn't have torpedoes. The main guns traverse at 9 degrees a second. If you want to compare that to these other ships, 9 degrees is average. It's actually the second fastest traverse speed, besides the Charles Martel, which has the fastest. But it's about average for all the other ships. And the reload time is 9 seconds, which is about in the middle. It's slower than some of the tier 8 ships and faster than others. I don't think you need an increased reload time, so I'm going to go with more accurate shots. Keep in mind, when you go with main battery reload time, -5%, you're also decreasing its survivability, so when enemy ships target you, they can take out your main guns, which is going to reduce your damage per second. I like to have more accurate shots with increased survivability of my main guns, so I can sustain that damage. Now for this, I generally, at higher tiers, I generally don't go with damage control system modification. I generally go with steering gear. That's the most popular one I go with. Some ships, like aircraft carriers for sure, I go with this risk of fire on deck, -25%. Sometimes I'm going to go with propulsion or air defense. For this ship, it's going to be between these two. It's already really maneuverable. I want to see how fast it accelerates. Time to full speed is 14.74 seconds. That's pretty quick. It's actually faster than most of the tier 8 ships and slower than only a couple of them. So I don't think the Wichita needs to accelerate any faster. And considering that it already turns around quicker than all of the other ships, the Wichita may very well be a very good destroyer hunter. In general, cruisers are destroyer hunters, so always keep in mind who your primary targets are based on the ship that you're playing. So I'm actually going to boost its strength. I'm going to go with steering gear modification. I don't think you need more acceleration. I don't think you need decreased fire chance on deck. I don't think you need increased fire and flooding resistance. And I don't think you need more anti-aircraft damage. It already has a ton of anti-aircraft damage. And by the way, keep in mind that when you're looking at all these things, the ship skills here in the armory, where you have upgrade everything, go over to details, you can see your ship skills. This has rapid reload and air defense alert. So this thing has really good air defense already. It doesn't have the best range, but it is actually pretty good. Like 3.74 on your large caliber is great. Oh, for tier 8 it's great. And now for this last bit, let's look. We have 11% torpedo damage reduction. So I would either go with torpedo damage reduction or more traverse acceleration. We have our turn time down to 5.73 seconds. That's by far the best so far of these tier 8 cruisers. So I don't think you need more traverse acceleration. You could increase your anti-aircraft range. If you're and here's the deal, if you're going to be hunting destroyers, which I think, I've never played this ship, but I think that it would be good at hunting destroyers, you might want to go with torpedo damage reduction. If you're not going to hunt destroyers, if you're going to support your teammates and stay close by them with anti-aircraft, using your anti-aircraft to support them against enemy CVs, then I would go with this range right here, anti-aircraft range. I would not go with concealment or max speed. I would never go with this option. I don't think I've ever used this on any of my ships. Armament modification. So yeah, the way this is set up right now, I have accuracy, traverse speed, and torpedo damage reduction. This is going to be really good at hunting destroyers. That's the way I plan on playing this. So I do not have a free commander for, so I'm gonna take my commander from my West Virginia, and I'm gonna reset all the skills, and let's start setting this thing up. First, I'm going with torpedo survivability, awareness, and reduced damage. Don't need preheating. So right here, you have to determine how long you spend above 75% HP. Let's go back and look at our HP. We have 34,000 hit points, and if you compare it to the other, actually these aren't even fully upgraded yet, so I can't accurately compare it. Let's go ahead and upgrade all of these. This one's already elited. Let's elite all of these, and then we can go back and compare them. I'll choose elite skills when I get there. Alright. Do we compare the hit points? 34,000, 29,000, well that's about 30. 32,000, 30,000, 34,000, 34,000, 30,000, 31,000. So the Wichita has a good amount of hit points. And considering I'll be hunting destroyers more than any other ship, this might be really good. Traverse speed, because I might be turning around to dodge torpedoes, and shell dispersion to make sure my rounds hit and take out the destroyers quickly. I'm gonna go with this because of who my main targets are. Now, if it does turn out that I get a lot of damage really quick at the beginning of battles, then I would switch to high alert. That's something you have to take into account for your own playstyle. If you're not going to be using this ship to hunt destroyers, then I mean, you could still use artillery maintenance expert if you're going to stay by friendly ships. It just depends on how much you get targeted. I typically get targeted more than I would assume. I'm completely guessing. I assume that I get targeted more than other players simply because I do get targeted a lot. It seems like I get targeted more than my teammates, and that might be because I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I do make YouTube videos, and a lot of people have seen my videos, and so it's logical to take out good players first. If you want to give your team an advantage, the best thing to do is to take me out first. Honestly, that is, I'm not saying I'm better than every player out there, because there's definitely a lot of players that are more skilled than me, and I wish they made YouTube videos to teach their tactics and stuff. But I will say I know that I'm a good player, and so if you see a good player on the enemy team, it's logical to take them out first, because that gives your team a really good advantage and increases your chance of winning. So if you do get targeted a lot, you might, it just depends on what you think. If you think you can keep your hit points above 75% for a long time, then this is going to be a good option. If you don't, then go with high alert. If you get set on fire a lot, you might want to go with high alert. And then let's go back here. The skills are rapid reload and anti-air defense. So I'm actually going to skip forward. I know I'm going to want to increase my rapid reload duration, and I'm going to want to increase my anti-air defense duration. So I'm already boosting my skills, boosting the strengths to the ship. So out of all these skills, you're always going to either boost the ship's strengths, like from its skills, increase its offense capabilities, or its survivability. That's what you have to keep in mind. Since I am hunting destroyers, I'm gonna give it Daredevil. So if I do happen to get hit by a load of torpedoes, and I lose a lot of hit points, I'm below 33% of max HP, I'm gonna be able to maneuver a lot better, which it already maneuvers like crazy. Can you imagine? Its turn time is already 5.73 seconds. Can you imagine an additional 33% reduction of rudder shift time and 10% increase of max traverse speed? That would be awesome. I can't wait to see how that plays out. And more damage to ships that are on fire or flooding. So let's look if I'm going to be using AP or HE. This thing has 650 HE damage and about 840 AP damage, with 9 main guns and a 9-second reload time. I'm going to go with AP damage in this ship. I don't like I very rarely use HE shells unless the ship has a really high chance of setting fire. With the Wichita has a 7% chance of setting fire, which I almost never go with 7%. Go with HE if it has 7%, unless the HE damage is really close to the AP damage. With somewhere around a 200 damage difference between HE damage and AP damage, I don't want to rely on that 7% random number generator to kick in and give me a fire, and then have to set another fire after the player puts out the first one. I just don't like those odds. I like guaranteed damage. I like sustaining my damage. I like controlling my damage output, not relying on random number generators. And because of that, I would generally either go with usually with this skill, I would also go with this 10% chance of destroying modules and enemy ships. But since the Wichita doesn't have torpedoes and it has secondary guns, I'm gonna go with this right here, the Close Quarters Combat Expert. I am expecting to get pretty close to destroyers to target them, and I need all of my shells to be landing to take them out as quickly as possible. So I'm gonna reduce the dispersion my secondary guns. If I didn't have secondary guns, I would probably go with Demolition Expert, or sometimes if a ship has the engine accelerator, I would go with this. Sometimes, I don't always go with engine overload if a ship has engine accelerator, and I might be able to explain that later if I get to a ship like that. Let me remind myself what this has. Rapid reload air defense. So since I don't have precise aim or aircraft, I'm always going to go with fully prepared on a cruiser. Remember, you never need these if you don't have use for them. Pay attention to the skills that your ship has. I'm gonna go with Adrenaline Rush since I am playing so aggressively. If I wasn't playing aggressively, I might go with Extinguisher, but that also depends on how much the fire chance is. Based on our selections so far, the fire and flooding resistance is 17.25%. So I wouldn't go with Extinguisher, I would just go with Adrenaline Rush. Because whether you're supporting your teammates or going after destroyers, whether you're playing conservatively or aggressively, I think Adrenaline Rush is a better choice overall. And since I'm not going to be setting fires, I'm not going to go with Exploit Weakness. That could help me if I'm targeting ships that are on fire, but that means I have to rely on my teammates to set other ships on fire, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to rely on them to set my targets on fire so that it benefits me. I would much rather have Generalist, because you're getting a HP return whenever you use your damage control kit, and it also gives you increased fire and flooding resistance in case those enemy torpedoes do hit your ship and cause flooding, or if you do get set on fire. What did I miss? Oh, I missed this. So I always go with... I think that I always go with horizontal protection expert for cruisers. I would never go with Citadel Strike. This is what I save for aircraft carriers sometimes. These two I use for aircraft carriers. This I use, actually I think there is one situation where I use horizontal protection expert on an aircraft carrier. Really, all three of these would be good for aircraft carriers. Like Citadel Strike would be really good for American aircraft carriers at high tier, because their dive bombers do citadels, get citadels a lot, and so yeah. Anyways, that's for another video. For the Wichita, I'm gonna go with this. That's generally what I use for my cruisers. In this, I always go with for destroyers right here. Giant Hunter is always what I use for destroyers. So I think our commander's fully set up there. So that's the Wichita. Man, I can tell you what, this video is going to be long. I've only done one ship so far, and in how many minutes am I at? Am I reading that right? Am I at 26 minutes? No way. Am I reading this right? 26. Wow, I'm almost at 27 minutes. I've only done one ship. Wow. Okay. So this might be my longest, end up being my longest video I've ever made. So I hope you guys enjoy it. My goodness. How can I make this quicker? Okay. I like just had a brain fart. Like, I don't know what to do now that I'm just like, wow, I have so many ships left. I'm only in tier 8. I hope y'all like hearing me talk. Alright, so the Mogami. Let's evaluate this thing. It has 15 main guns. Wow, that's a lot. It has 9-second reload time. Its HE damage and its AP damage is about the same, but it has a 5% chance of setting fire. Man, that's tricky. So are you going to use HE or AP? With 15 guns and a 5% chance of setting fire, 9-second reload time, I'm going to go with HE damage. The HE damage, the high explosive, is so close to AP. You're not losing much by using HE to start with, but with 15 guns and a 5% chance of setting fire, you just might be setting a lot of fires. First things first, I'm going to assign a commander. Did I not assign him? Assign. Now I'm going to accelerate him. I know y'all are going to have to work through this very slowly, but first thing I'm doing is giving him that HE shell penetration, because I know I'm going to be using that. Now let's go back and let's look at its elite ship bonuses. Hit points, anti-aircraft damage, main battery traverse speed, torpedo tube reload time, and traverse speed. So my main guns traverse at 7.5 degrees a second. I can already tell you I'm not going to go with the torpedo bonus. 7.5% main gun turret traverse speed always needs to turn quicker. You should never have your main guns turning that slow. 7.5 degrees, so I'm definitely going to go with this. I need increased traverse speed in my main guns. That's automatic. Didn't even need to look at the torpedoes. And I happen to get 2% extra hit points and anti-aircraft damage. So I didn't even need to look at my anti-aircraft. I didn't even need to look at my hit points to make that decision. This main battery traverse speed is very important, and especially for a ship that has 15 guns. Most of your damage is coming from your main guns, and you have torpedoes too. Torpedoes means you're going to be turning your ship around to fire your torpedoes off on both sides, and you need those main guns to turn as quickly as possible. So I can also already tell you that with my main guns traversing at 8 degrees a second, my first equipment is not going to be the shell dispersion, which I normally would love to do. I'm going to go with main battery traverse speed. So now my main guns traverse at 9.63 degrees a second. I'm satisfied with that. Now let's look at the torpedoes. 4 sets of 3. 4 sets of 3. So you're going to have 2 sets of 3 on both sides of your ship. 7.8 kilometer distance. Your surface detection is 8.22 kilometers. So you're not going to be playing stealth in this ship. You could give it concealment, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't try playing concealed in this ship, because what you'll find is that even if you go with concealment, you're probably going to be detected all the time anyways. Let's give it historical camouflage and see what happens. 4% surface detection reduction, 4% increased traverse speed, 4% range on both main battery and torpedoes. So our surface detection is 7.89, and our torpedo range is 8.11. Hey, so you actually are concealed right now. Just for the heck of it, let's see what happens if I give it surface detection reduction. Now I'm at 7.7 kilometers, and the torpedo range is 8.11 kilometers. That gives you 1 kilometer to be undetected. I don't think that's very good odds. I just don't. I'm not going to use that. So let's go back to the second choice. Let's look. So we have to choose between turn time or acceleration, deck protection, fire and flooding resistance. Turn time is 7.5 seconds. Fire and flooding resistance is 10%. I think 10% is on the lower end. Yeah, of the tier 8 cruisers. Fire and flooding resistance, this thing is going to get set on fire easier than the other ships. Oop, I'm setting up equipment first. Acceleration. Time to full speed is 19.26 seconds. That's horrendous. Let's go with acceleration. It already turns pretty good, but I think that its acceleration is worse than its fire and flooding resistance. So now our acceleration is 16.05 seconds. Turn time is 7.5 seconds. Keeping in mind that I will be using torpedoes on both sides. I will be targeting destroyers, and its torpedo damage reduction is 7.5%. That's 7.5% is pretty low, actually. So since it's already pretty maneuverable, I'm going to go with torpedo damage reduction. So now we have 8.63%. So its torpedo damage reduction is still pretty low. Look, the Wichita has 12.71. German cruisers have 12%. So yeah, this still has pretty low torpedo damage reduction. I think this is going to be the best choice for you. For any playstyle, actually. For any playstyle, I actually think that all players, unless you never use your torpedoes and you never turn around, if you never use your torpedoes and never turn around, you might want to go with main battery shell dispersion. Other than that, I think that if you're playing this ship, if you're utilizing all of the abilities of this ship, I think that these are the best options for equipment on every single playstyle. I think that all players should have this. Every single player, I believe, should have this set up right here for their equipment. I think that applies for every playstyle. For equipment, for consumables, so the supplies, I'm doing that. Make sure you have auto resupply on. No player, by the way, should ever not be using supplies. Every player, even if you never spend any money on the game, you should always be using supplies and consumables and have it on auto resupply, because you gain so much silver from your battles that you can afford to use supplies and consumables in every single match. So now let's set up our commander skills. Automatically going with torpedo survivability, and I'm gonna go with, let's see, I don't think you need preheating, so it's going to be between high alert and artillery maintenance expert. So for artillery maintenance expert, I have to take into account the hit points. This thing is on the lower end of the hit points. Is it the lowest? Where's the other 30,000? 30.6, 30.2. So the Mogami is the second lowest hit points. The Edinburgh is the lowest hit points at tier 8. So you might not be... And honestly, this thing looks like a real damage machine. Like, this thing looks like it has a ton of potential for damage. So I would imagine enemy ships will be targeting this ship a lot. Or at least if I was in a battleship targeting cruisers and I saw one of these, and I believe that I could hit my mark, I'd be targeting this ship. Out of all of these, out of every cruiser, I would personally want to take out this one first. So for that reason, I would probably go with high alert. This is really tempting though. But I'm just gonna go with this. I think this is gonna be the best option for everyone. If you're not getting targeted a lot, then go with this. And let's look again at the skills. We have precise aim and only precise aim. I'm gonna increase my precise aim duration automatically. And you could go with an additional precise aim, but I think the Daredevil is gonna be more useful here. Because since you're going to be turning around to launch your torpedoes, you are going to be showing your broadside to enemy ships and taking salvos from battleships when you turn to launch those torpedoes. So you're probably going to be losing health a lot, considering that you should always take out this ship first if you can. Maybe not first, but whenever you have a really good shot at this ship, take it, because this ship does a lot of damage. I can already tell. I've never played it, but I can tell just by looking at the stats. It's a damage machine. And I'm going to go with Victorious Charge. You don't have use for this in this ship. And you don't have use for this. Well, no, I mean, you could. If you get Krakens a lot, if you're just that good of a player, you could have a lot of use for Unstoppable. But I don't get Krakens a lot. I don't see players get Krakens in every battle. It doesn't seem like a very common thing. Krakens are like that rare thing that you get and you're like, yeah, I just got a Kraken. Let me go share it with everyone because it's not normal. You know, that's what Krakens are. You don't typically sink 5 ships in a battle. So I would go with Victorious Charge most of the time, unless you have air defense, unless you need more air defense if you have that skill, which this ship doesn't. Because Victorious Charge gives you a constant benefit at every battle. Now, I'll probably go with Generalist because the fire chance is 10%, so you're probably going to get set on fire pretty easily. I'm going to go with Generalist. And since you are getting set on fire pretty easily, you may want to go with Extinguisher or Adrenaline Rush. I get targeted so much that, like, although I'm a good player and I can do a lot of damage, I think a lot of people that recognize my name know that, and so I do get targeted a lot and I lose hit points a lot. So because of that, I like to go with Adrenaline Rush. I don't know, I mean, you could go with Extinguisher. I also like to go in, do damage, and get out. Then go in, get damage, do damage, and get out. So, based on the way that I play, I am confident that I can use this damage control kit to put out the first fire, and then I should be out of there. I should be out of range and not getting set on fire a second time and letting the fire burn. I make sure to extinguish my fires ASAP, and then I like to get out of there before I get set on fire again. So I don't believe that I need Extinguisher based on my playstyle, and since I do know that I'll be losing a lot of hit points, that's why I'm going with Adrenaline Rush. So make that evaluation on your own based on your own playstyle. We don't have an engine accelerator. We don't have secondary guns, so I'm gonna go with demolition expert. And at least I don't think we have. Do we have secondary guns? No, we don't have secondary guns. And we don't have rapid reload. It does have low chance of low protection from flooding, so you can go for this for survivability or this for offense and doing more damage. Considering it has 15 main guns, you have a and strong long-range torpedoes, you have a pretty good chance at doing a lot of damage really quickly and taking out enemy ships fast. So I'm good at baiting and dodging torpedoes, so I don't end up taking a lot of flooding damage because I'll put it out ASAP when I get it, and I generally maneuver a lot, so I'll get out of there, make sure I don't continuously get hit by torpedoes to get another flooding after I put out the first one. I'm gonna go with Honor Seeker for increased offense. If you are not good at dodging and baiting torpedoes, you might want to go with compartment maintenance for reduced flooding damage. And then, since battleships should be targeting this thing, I'm going to go with horizontal protection expert to protect the deck, reduce the fire chance on the deck and superstructure. This thing does have increased chance of getting a fire, so I think we've covered everything for this ship. All right, let's see, what are we at? I'm at 41 minutes. Wow, yeah, this video could very well be a couple hours long, but whatever. I'd rather have one video like this, and I'm gonna give you a table of contents so that y'all can just skip ahead to whichever ship y'all want to see. So for the Takao, I mean, I love the Takao. Takao is one of my most played ships on my personal account, so I know a lot about this ship, and I know how I would play it. So I already know that on the Takao I would want main battery shell dispersion reduction. I already know that I'm going to want double steering because that's the way that I play. I want to turn around quickly, get those torpedoes off. I guess I'll need to walk y'all through this anyways. The Takao is pretty fragile, but it's very powerful. It takes a lot of damage. It only has 7.5% torpedo damage reduction. So you might actually want to go with torpedo damage reduction here. But with the way that I play, I don't think that most players would go with this. I think you might want to go with this if you're not confident in your ability to bait and dodge torpedoes. Its time to full speed is 16.19 seconds. That's not the best. Like the Edinburgh has 10.5 second time to full speed. This has more than 50% increased time to full speed than the Edinburgh, so it's not as maneuverable. It has a 6.24 second turn time after I've given it double steering. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ships on my personal account. So with historical camouflage, we just reduced its surface detection, increases torpedo range, main battery firing range by 4%, max traverse speed by 4%, so now it's even more maneuverable. 6.5 second turn time. I'm very satisfied with that, especially for Takao. I turn around a lot and fire more torpedoes off on both sides. You have 10 main guns, you have 16 torpedoes, you have 2 sets of 4 on each side, so you have 4 sets of 4 total. Torpedo range is 8.11 kilometers. Surface detection is 7.95 kilometers, so you are concealed just barely. Your torpedoes barely fire while still concealed. But it is still hard to do because by the time you get close enough for the torpedo arc to like say, hey, you can fire now and land your torpedoes, you start turning your ship, and by the time your ship is turned to launch them, you're already detected because you're continuing to go forward a little bit. And I'm gonna go with I can't remember what I went with on my personal account, so let's see. My main guns traverse at 7.5 degrees a second. That's a no-no. I want traverse speed on my main guns, so these both give me traverse speed on my main guns. Don't need more hit points or anti-aircraft damage. Well, the way that I play this ship, I'm gonna go with reduced main gun reload time because I constantly use my main guns. Personal preference. I actually think either one of these is a good option. Elite gun operator or cruiser modernization. I think these are both good options. It's a 50-50. You can get more anti-aircraft damage or more hit points. It doesn't have the lowest hit points in its class, but it is fragile, so keep that in mind. Let's assign a commander and level him up. And by the way, before we assign the commander skills, always make sure to keep in mind the ship skills. You have precise aim, and that's it. So I'm going to increase my precise aim duration. And then sometimes you will want to give it an additional precise aim. I think 3 precise aims is generally good. Sometimes you might find that you don't use all of your precise aims in battle when you have 3. And sometimes you do when you remember to, or if you have the right opportunities. I'm going to go with Daredevil because you are firing your torpedoes a lot. You're turning your ship broadside to turn around to get those torpedoes launched. So you are briefly showing broadside to enemies. And that's always why whenever you have ships that show broadside a lot, when you have to turn to launch those torpedoes, you're going to be getting those salvos that are really devastating to your cruisers. So you need to turn around as soon as possible. That's why I generally go with double steering on cruisers, or have at least one steering. You want to reduce that turn time as much as possible so that you can get those torpedoes off and be sailing the opposite direction and be perpendicular with enemy ships again, or at least perpendicular with where their shells are coming from, because you want to spend the least amount of broadside possible. Broadside is when you're showing the side of your ship to enemies. So the quicker you turn, the better. This actually helps both with offense and defense right here. And I am going to go with torpedo alert. Now the Takao is really good at hunting destroyers, but I think that it's even better at hunting battleships that are all by themselves and not paying attention to you. If you and a teammate both gang up on a battleship, the Takao does excellent at taking them out. Because what you do is you do a U-turn. And watch my Takao series to see how to play this ship aggressively. I have a 5-episode series on the Takao that I uploaded many months ago. And who knows, by the time you watch this video, it could be 1 year, 2 years ago. This video is going to be up for a while. Who knows how long ago, but right now, at the time of making this video, my Takao series was uploaded many months ago. And it's 5-episode series. You can see how to play this ship aggressively and how much damage this ship does against battleships, or really anyone. The torpedoes, when you're setting off 8 torpedoes on one side, then 8 on the other, you're going to want to go and do a U-turn. You're going to go in, start doing a U-turn. You fire your torpedoes off on the left side. Say you're doing a U-turn to the right. You're turning to the right. First you fire the left side, and then once you've completed the U-turn, continue turning a little bit more. So you're doing like a 270-degree turn, and launch the torpedoes on then the right side of your ship. And then once those are off, then start turning to the left again, and you're basically ending back up on your first path, sailing away from the ship. So if you were to outline your movement, it might look sort of like a balloon, like there's a string. The string is marking your path. You're going up, then you're turning to make the balloon head, and then you come back, and then you end back up on your first path, making like the end of the string, going back down. If that makes sense. I wish I could draw it out for you. I probably could figure out how to draw it out for you and add it to the video, but I'm not going to. But yeah, that's a really good strategy, doing U-turns to launch both torpedoes off. And you can do that by turning left or right to start the U-turn. And that all depends on the way that the enemy ship is sailing. Alright, so for this, for my Takao, I typically don't stay above 75% of my HP for very long, so because of that I'm going with high alert. And I'm gonna go with Victorious Charge. We don't have any use for this, and I don't get Krakens too often. in most ships. So let's see. I'm gonna go with generalist because I do get set on fire a lot in my Takao, and it doesn't have the best fire resistance anyways. Japanese cruisers generally don't have the best fire resistance, as far as I remember. And by the way, look, keep in mind the type of rounds we're gonna be using. I'm gonna be using AP rounds in my Takao. There's over a 100 damage difference between AP damage and HE damage, and it does have an 8% chance of setting fire. So 8% chance of setting fire, that's good and all, but your primary source of damage in this ship is going to be your torpedoes. By far, the most, if you want to optimize your damage in a Takao, you need to be using those torpedoes a lot. And so what that means is that you're going to be turning around a lot. Your main guns, which have a 8 degree per second traverse speed, are constantly going to be turning, at least if you play aggressive like I do, they're constantly going to be turning from the left of your ship to the right of your ship, back and forth. You're not going to be having sustained damage output on enemy ships with your main guns. And so because of that, you might not be setting a lot of fires depending on that playstyle. For my playstyle, I'm not going to be sitting there pumping out rounds of main guns as if that's going to do very much compared to me using my torpedoes. So because of that, I'm only going to be getting a few salvos off with my main guns before I'm turning and launching those torpedoes. So I might be using HE rounds initially to set a fire and get them to use their fire control. Then I turn and I fire my torpedoes, and then I'll switch to, and then hopefully if they use their repair kit, what is it? Damage control kit. If they've already used that to put out the fire, then I launch those torpedoes. Hopefully they cause flooding. I'm going to switch to my AP rounds to finish off the ship, to do as much damage as quickly as possible to finish them off. They shouldn't have too much HP left over. So that's where I'm going with this. I will use HE rounds to set fires, but I'm not going to keep using HE rounds the entire battle. I'm just going to use HE to set a fire, and then use AP rounds to finish them off. So I'm also going to go with Demolition Expert. You don't have secondary guns. You don't have engine accelerator. I'm going to go with Horizontal Expert always on this ship because it is pretty fragile. It's a damage machine, but it is pretty fragile. I'm going to go with Honor Seeker. I sink a lot of ships in my Takao, so I would get a lot of use out of this. If you're not good at baiting and dodging torpedoes, you would want to go with Compartment Maintenance Expert. So you have to make these decisions based on your own playstyle. And for the Takao, I'm so aggressive in this, I know I'd get a lot of use out of Adrenaline Rush. I typically take a lot of damage because I'm so aggressive in my Takao. So I know I would get a lot of use out of this. I would get more use out of Adrenaline Rush than I would Extinguisher based on my aggressive playstyle, how much I get targeted, how much time I spend below 25% of my HP. And keep in mind, because of how aggressive I am, that's why I'm doing so much damage, why I'm so successful at playing when I'm playing the Takao, because I'm utilizing all of its torpedoes on both sides of the ship, and taking a lot of damage isn't always a bad thing, because like for example with the Takao, if you get off 16 torpedoes total, you know, from both sides, you have 16 total. If you get all those to land on a battleship, then they're not going to have very much health left. You might take them out completely, or they might just need a few more salvos from your main guns. So you're going to want, first off, they're going to take out a lot of damage, a lot of your hit points. They're going to take out a lot of your hit points from you turning to show broadside to get those torpedoes off. So you can expect to not have very much hit points left over. And so because of that, and neither one of y'all will. So because of that, you need to take them out as soon as possible. Hopefully some teammates are helping you target that ship. But if they're not, you're going to really want this main battery reload time to be reduced so that you can take them out, because you're not going to be able to sustain a whole bunch of salvos from battleships. If you don't play aggressive like I do, and you just stay next to enemy teammates, or sorry, friendly enemy teammates. If you stay next to your friendly your teammates, then you might want to go with extinguisher. That also depends on how much enemy aircraft carriers are targeting you. You are going to be a very good target for an enemy aircraft carrier, because you don't have the best anti-aircraft damage. Look here. Just compare like this anti-aircraft damage to, say, a Wichita, Edinburgh. So you don't have the best. You are going to be a good target for aircraft carriers, especially because you have such horrendous torpedo damage reduction, overall damage reduction, fire flooding resistance. You're a good target for enemy aircraft carriers. So you might be getting set on fire a lot or taking flooding from carriers. So if that's the case, then you might want to go with these two. And always keep in mind, if you do take, I think we're done with the Takao, but if you do take a lot of damage from enemy aircraft carriers, the solution is to stay next to American ships. Stay next to an American cruiser, or even better, stay next to an American battleship. Because the American battleships and cruisers have a lot of anti-aircraft damage. Typically, the British cruisers have really good anti-aircraft damage as well. So if you do get targeted by enemy carriers, the best thing to do is shoot their planes down, and the best way to shoot all of them down is to be next to your teammates. But make sure you're next to teammates with good anti-aircraft damage. You can't stay next to everyone, because not every teammate's going to have good anti-aircraft damage. Like, you're better off teaming up with an Edinburgh than another Takao. So I think we're done with Takao now. We've chosen everything. We are at 57 minutes. Awesome. Sarcasm. This is going to be so honestly, this is not trying to be a downer, but this is going to be it could be a pain to edit the sound, to finish this sound recording and edit the sound, because what I have to do is I have to go through and I have to take out all the background noises that escape the noise reduction filter, and it's just a pain. And sometimes there's humming in the background. I live next to a busy street, so every time a motorcycle drives by, it's so annoying, because the motorcycle and all its rumbling screws up my voice, introduces all these artifacts and stuff, and then I have to add all these special filters for certain frequencies, so that it takes those frequencies of the motorcycle out of my voice. And it's not just motorcycles, but like my neighbor will be dragging a trash can right outside my window, and you can hear the trash can better than you can hear my voice. It's crazy how many things I have to edit out of my voice recording, simply because I'm not in a studio and I'm in a busy part of town that has a lot of noise, background noise and stuff. It takes so long to edit my videos, to edit the sound, to give y'all quality sound. I like to give y'all quality everything, so sound is the big thing I like to spend a lot of time on. So this video, oh my gosh, I'm not looking forward to editing the sound after this. And I really hope that my iPad has enough storage space on it to use all of this video. So I might want to make a save point after the Edinburgh. I'm gonna pause the recording and then start it up again. I'm gonna double check and make sure I have enough storage space to continue, because I might have to go delete some videos. So let's, for the Edinburgh, I've never played, I don't know, have I played the Edinburgh? I don't know if I played the Edinburgh. I know that I skipped most of the tiers on my personal account to jump up to tier 10 on the British cruisers. So let's see, first off the details. We have smoke generator, anti-defense alert, and so this thing is going to be good at taking out aircraft, being concealed. We have main battery traverse speed. Typically, British cruisers have really fast main battery traverse speeds already, and they're really good at taking out enemy aircraft. You might want to go with, I'm just automatically going to go with cruiser modernization. Pretty sure I'm not going to need, let's see if I'm right. Probably not going to need increased traverse speed. So your gun traverse speed is at 9.63 degrees a second. And they are very fragile ships. So yeah, I think this is a good choice. I don't think you're going to need 20% increased traverse speed on your main guns from your elite bonus. I think that the cruiser modernization is going to be a better bonus. And I'm going to go with main battery, shell dispersion probably. Let's see. I guess it depends on it since I haven't played it. You have a 7.5 second reload time. I might go with, you know what? I might go with turret traverse. I'm going to go with turret traverse speed for this equipment option. And the reason why is because you have torpedoes on both sides. Your torpedoes do a lot of damage. You have 2 sets of 4 torpedoes. Oh, 2 sets of 4, not 4 sets of 4. So you have 4 torpedoes on each side. 1 set of 4 on each side. Huh. That might change things a little bit. Well, no. I'm gonna keep that turret traverse speed. Because you're gonna be doing that U-turn maneuver that I discussed on the Takao part of this video. And you're gonna want those main guns to turn around quickly to get to the other side to continue putting off damage on enemy ships. And I'm probably gonna go with double steering. Let's see, the turn time's 8.11 seconds. To put that into perspective, it's slower than my Takao. Wow, that's surprising, because at tier 10, the Minotaur is crazy maneuverable and turns really quickly. The Dene, the tier 4, is crazy maneuverable. I'm just a little bit shocked that the Edinburgh turns quicker than a Takao. That could be because of my choices here. Let's go ahead and let's see. Oh, I already have my camouflage. So just to compare the turn time to all the other ships, 5.73 seconds. That's crazy, the Wichita. I'm gonna go with my double steering on the Edinburgh. Automatic. And so for you guys, what y'all need to evaluate is the way you're gonna play this ship to make these determinations, to make these choices. Are you going to be using your torpedoes a lot? If you are, I think that's going to optimize your damage output. You're going to want to keep in mind also, how good are you evading and dodging torpedoes? This thing has 9% torpedo damage reduction. Overall 7.5% regular damage reduction, which is horrendous. This thing is very fragile. So what that means is if you're going to be using your torpedoes, you're going to be showing broadside a lot to use those torpedoes on both sides. Now, if I remember right, typically the British cruisers have really good launch angles for their torpedoes. So they're not hard to launch angles like the typical Japanese cruiser that are usually faced near the rear of the ship. I've only played a few of the British cruisers like the Dene and the Minotaur, and they have pretty good torpedo launching angles, so you don't have to show full broadside to launch those torpedoes, but you just might be turning a lot because this is a destroyer hunter. So you're going to be you're going to want to dodge torpedoes very effectively. So with the double steering, we now have 6.5 second turn time, which is the same as the Takao. I think that's really good, honestly. It reduces the amount of time you spend broadside and increases your ability to do what you're going to be doing best, which is taking out destroyers. So if you are not good at dodging torpedoes, this might be the solution for you to dodge torpedoes. Just have better steering. That'll help you dodge them better. But if it's not working out, if you try this build, you have double steering, you're still getting hit by a ton of torpedoes, then you might want to go with torpedo defense modification. But keep in mind, that's also going to make it even harder to dodge torpedoes. You might be getting hit with even more torpedoes, and you're going to be spending more time broadside getting salvos from enemy battleships when it takes you longer to turn around. Let's look at the surface detection. We have 8.18 kilometer surface detection, and the torpedo range is 7.8 kilometers, so you're always going to be detected if you're going to put off your torpedoes. Now, the British cruisers are really good at anti-aircraft, so you could increase your anti-aircraft damage. But I don't think that you should. I think that you're better off having reduced reload time on your offense capabilities, increased hit points, and ship traverse speed. This traverse speed is going to help you turn quicker and move quicker, move forward quicker and turn quicker. And then now let's do our commander. I forget, we already did our elite skill, right? Yes, we did do our elite skill. Commander. Assign a command. Oh, this is my Nelson commander. Was that right? I thought I saw Nelson before I applied it. So let's reset the commander skills. And I'm going to give it torpedo, awareness, and defense. I'm going, since I am hunting destroyers at the beginning of battles, I want to give it better shell dispersion, but then again, let's look at how fast it accelerates too. 10.5 second acceleration time to full speed, that's really good. You don't need preheating. Damage control kit cooldown time, you could go with that for survivability. I'm going to go with artillery maintenance expert, simply because I might not keep that benefit for very long, but I do want that benefit for as long as I can keep it. I want to take out the destroyers as soon as I can. Let's look at the main battery reload time. 7.5 second reload time on the main battery. You have 12 main guns, and also, by the way, you only have AP rounds in British cruisers, so you're always going to want to go with AP round right here for the tier 11 stat. And our ship skills are smoke detector and anti-air defense, so you may want to increase your anti-air defense alert duration and reduce the cooldown time. And I just said it and I'd already forgot. Smoke, that's the other one, smoke. So you could go with Mistweaver, but I think you're better off with Adrenaline Rush, because you are going to take so much damage. I think that you're going to get more use out of your Adrenaline Rush than your smoke detector, than your Mistweaver skill. Now, if you don't play very aggressively, if you play very conservatively, in fact, if you play conservatively, I don't think you should play any British cruisers at all. British cruisers are not a ship to play conservatively. The whole line is an aggressive line. You have to play aggressively. It does a lot of damage very fast. So the way they counteract that, the counter to British cruisers is that the developers made it very fragile. They can't sustain receiving damage. That's why they're best played aggressively, because of their damage output and the fact that they can't sustain receiving damage, and you're not going to be able to optimize your damage output unless you play aggressively. So Mistweaver is typically, if you're going to play more conservatively, you want to go in, you want to get some damage, but then you're like, oh wait, I just got spotted. Hold up, I don't want to be seen. Don't look at me. I'm gonna back up, reverse, get out of there, or do a U-turn and get out of there. Mistweaver is better suited if you get, I don't want to use the word like scared, like, oh, I got spotted, I'm scared, hide me quick. Like, I feel like that's not the best analogy, but I don't have, like, there's definitely going to be a better analogy. I just don't have a better one right now off the top of my mind. You shouldn't be necessarily afraid to be spotted, because you should be confident in your ability to take out enemy ships, and be confident that it's okay if you take a lot of damage, because all it's going to do is help you do more damage. You're going to be doing a ton of damage, and when they do a lot of damage to you, that makes you more dangerous to them, because you have adrenaline rush. So I'm also going to go with Daredevil here, because of everything I just stated. I've stated this on the other ships too, you want to turn around as quick as possible, show the least amount of broadside. You are going to be taking a lot of damage in every British cruiser, so you want to be able to turn quicker to get those torpedoes off and show the least amount of broadside. Now, exploit weakness. or I'm not gonna go with sonar. We don't even have sonar. Or generalist. I'm gonna go with generalist because the British cruisers do get set on fire pretty easily. And I'm going with demolition expert here. I'm gonna go with horizontal protection expert. I think you absolutely need this on a British cruiser. They're so fragile. You need that deck protection and reduced fire chance on your deck. You do have, I believe you have, yeah, you have a 12.5% resistance to flooding. But it is pretty maneuverable. You should be able to dodge torpedoes pretty well. 6.5 second turn time. I'm gonna go with Honor Seeker because you can do a lot of damage very quickly. You're very likely to sink a lot of ships in a British cruiser compared to all other cruisers because of their burst damage output from your torpedoes and your reload time on your main guns. But keep in mind, your main guns don't do a ton of damage. The reload time is what makes up for it. So each salvo doesn't do a ton of damage, but because of the reload time on British cruisers, it makes up for it. Like tier 10 has you can have 3.5 second reload time on your tier 10 Minotaur. So I think we're all done here. So this is the part where I'm going to pause the video, make sure that I have enough space on my iPad to continue recording my screen. And then I'm going to continue. I'm just going to keep the audio rolling. Maybe I'll make a cut to cut out all of this silence in between. Give me a second, I'll figure it out. Alright, I'm back. So I had to plug in my iPad and hopefully I can get the audio lined up with the video this second segment. Yeah, I have plenty of space left. Plenty of space left on my iPad. So let's continue with the other 4 tier 8 cruisers. Alright, this needs an elite skill. It's already fully upgraded. We have, wow, sonar, precise aim, and anti-air defense. I've never played this ship. I don't know how to play this ship. So let's just look at the stats and determine the way I'm going to play this ship. And this is what you guys can do. This is a guide for how to figure out the way you're going to play a ship based on, you can just look at the stats and make that determination yourself. We have 34,000 hit points. We have better than the average, I would assume, survivability. Let's see. So we have the upper end of hit points for, is this, so this is almost the same amount of hit points as the Wichita, just a few less. And less than the Hipper, but better than everything else. And we have really good citadel protection compared to some others, like the Edinburgh at 7.5%. This is 12.5%. This is good at torpedo damage reduction, 3% higher than the Edinburgh. Regular damage reduction is 3% higher, and we have same fire and flooding resistance, 3% better citadel protection. That's more than 3%. That's 5% better. Wow. Dude, this looks really good. Looks like this thing can sustain damage. And we have 32 knots. It's alright, it's not bad. 17.5 second time to full speed. I don't like that. Especially look at the Edinburgh, 10.5 seconds. This is 17.5 seconds. 7 seconds longer. Let's see, the turn time is 9.6 seconds. I might want better acceleration, might want better turn time, I don't know yet. Let's continue evaluating. These are the things that y'all need to do when y'all evaluate what's the best equipment, what's the best commander skills. We have 8 main guns, 10-second reload time. AP damage is, wow, 991 compared to 590 high explosive damage. So and with a 6% fire chance, I'm never going to use high explosive rounds on this ship. You're just so much better off. Just use your AP rounds. Guarantee that few hundred damage more per round on all of your salvos. Definitely the best option to do. So when we go over to my commander, to assign a commander, accelerate the promotion, I'm always going to have this selection. how do you pronounce this, Prince? So I know that I pronounced this thing wrong for the longest, and at one point in time I could pronounce it the right way, but I haven't used this, I haven't like said the name in so many months that I forgot how to pronounce it. Originally I thought it was Prinz Eugen, and then I thought it was Prinz Eugen, and everyone's like, what? They're like, no, that's not right. And somebody told me it was pronounced something like Prinz Eugen or something like that, and I was like, are you kidding me? Prinz Eugen? That doesn't even make sense when you read the English. But this isn't an English name, it's like a German name, so I think that I don't, you know, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. Just Google it. I could have or should have Googled it before trying to attempt this. And I got my neighbor's Mustang rumbling in the background, messing up my voiceover, because I'm gonna have to edit out these sounds. Y'all might not hear it, but if I didn't edit it out, you would hear it. So, and hopefully wait a second for him to leave. Let's keep looking at this. We have 9-kilometer surface detection, anti-aircraft, torpedo range is 5.4 kilometers, and the surface section is 9 kilometers. You're always going to be detected. You're going to want to use your torpedoes. You have 4 sets of 2. So you have 2 sets of 2 on each side. I don't like that. I don't like having 2 sets of 2 on each side, and 4 sets of 2 total. Because who wants to fire a set of 2 torpedoes? That reminds me of tier 2, literally. The Samson sets off sets of 2 torpedoes. And I don't know if I've ever had a ship that sets off a set of 2 torpedoes since then. Since the Samson. I don't like 2 sets of 2 torpedoes, but I am going to use them. They do a good amount of damage, 3,186 damage. Main battery traverse speed, damage reduction, citadel protection. Well, let's look. We already have really good damage reduction, citadel protection. Actually, we don't have really good damage reduction, but it is good. It's good, but it's not really good. It's only 10.5%. And this 5% doesn't bring it to 15.5%, by the way. If I add, let me just show you, damage reduction 5%. If I add it, it's not going to become 15.5%. It went from 10.5% to 11.03%. See right here? Watch, if I change my traverse speed, that's going to drop back down to 10.5%. And let's look at our main guns. We have turret traverse speed of 9 degrees a second. Let's see what happens. You have to exit out to update it. Now it's updated. We have 10.5% damage reduction again, where we started. And our main gun traverse speed is 10.8 degrees a second. I like that. I think I'm going to keep this because, but then again, since you are getting so close to enemy ships to fire those torpedoes, you might want that citadel protection damage reduction, but I'm just going to go with main gun traverse speed because I think that it's already got pretty okay, pretty good. Not okay, it's better than okay. I'm just going to say it's already got good survivability. Good survivability. I'm satisfied with this. What I'm not satisfied with was the 9 degrees a second turret traverse speed, so I wanted to boost that in satisfaction. I wanted to make myself satisfied with this turret traverse speed. And we have yeah, so let's see. Let's go ahead and set up the equipment. I don't know what this shell dispersion is like, so you might want to play a match and see what this shell dispersion is like on this ship. If you need more accurate shots, go with this. Let's look at the reload time. It has 10-second reload time with 11.5 kilometer range. So that's a pretty good. It's a good range, not pretty good. It's just good. It's a good range. Like it's less than the Charles Martel, less than the Chap. Less than the Chap. Let's go with that. I might even still be pronouncing the first 4 letters wrong. Chap, since it's a Russian ship. I know they have weird pronunciations that differ from the English pronunciation, so Someone might even be like, you pronounced chap wrong. It's chop. No, so the Prinz, where were we? We were doing equipment, right? So I don't think you need main battery reload time reduction. So I think what it's going to come down to is either main battery traverse speed or shell dispersion. And considering I want to see what I can do without the shell dispersion. I know that I'm confident in my ability to land my rounds, but that is dependent on the shell dispersion, but I want to see what I can do without it. So I'm going to go with main battery traverse speed first. If I find that I'm having a problem landing my rounds because of the dispersion, then I'll switch back to this. And if you've already played this ship, you already know what the dispersion is like. If you've already generated genuinely generated that sort of thought already from when you've been playing this ship, if you thought, wow, the shell dispersion sucked, you may want to go with this. And so let's look at the next thing, our maneuverability. We have a turn time of 9.6 degrees a second. I don't like that, and since we're going to be using our torpedoes, I'm going to go with this. I forgot to look, the acceleration, you know what? The acceleration is 17.36 seconds. I don't like that. I actually might switch to accelerate time to full speed. But then again, first, you know what, first let's see what this does. Let's see. We got our maneuverability down to, because I'd rather have better maneuverability than quicker acceleration. So if I can get my maneuverability down to turning around in 7.68 seconds, would I be okay? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Would you be okay with an 8 point something second turn time? Or would you rather have faster acceleration? I'm going to keep the time to full speed, because the torpedo range being 5.4 kilometers, it's not like you're going to like get in and get out. It's like once you're in, you're kind of stuck there, because once you go in, you launch those torpedoes, you have a 40-second reload time. You don't have time to leave and then come back and launch those torpedoes again. If you go in, launch torpedoes on both sides, and then leave, by the time you've gotten away and you're safe again, those torpedoes are ready to go off again. Then you got to turn around and go back. Then you got to show broadside even more again. You're better off getting those torpedoes off on both sides, and then being sort of perpendicular, set up a good angle that makes it harder for those ships to hit you. And say you might want to start sailing away from the enemy ship, but then throw it in reverse and kind of like back into it perpendicularly, so that once those torpedoes are ready to go again, then you can just turn, launch those torpedoes off, and then sail away. And so you would want to turn around and keep your nose away from the enemy ship, but be in reverse. That way, you know, you can launch those torpedoes off. Once you're ready to go, you just hit it, go into forward, sail out of there. And that's the strategy. I haven't even played this ship, and I haven't seen anyone play this way, the way I'm describing. But I would think that's a good strategy based on the stats that I'm seeing right here. 40-second reload time, pretty good torpedoes, but a low range. Yeah, I feel good about this equipment setup. Let's go ahead and give it some supplies. Then we'll get into the commander skill. Always make sure that you have auto resupply on both consumables and supplies. And oh, I forgot to give it camouflage. So we just gave it better firing range on your main battery and torpedo, better traverse speed, and lower surface detection. That's good. Now our surface detection is 8.64. What else did we do? We did traverse speed, turn time is 7.99 seconds. And we gave it better firing range on both the torpedoes and the main battery. Main battery is almost 12 kilometers. It's still lower than some of the other tier 8 cruisers. Torpedo range, it still sucks. It's still 5.62 kilometers. You're gonna be detected for 3 kilometers before you get to launch your torpedoes. This surface detection means that's when they detect you, not when you detect them. They detect you once you're within 8.64 kilometers of their ship. They detect you. So we're going to assign a commander. Oh, we already did that. We're going to give it survivability and awareness of torpedoes. We're going to reduce the damage control. You're going to have to get in close. You're not going to maintain this 75% hit points. These are things you have to evaluate. Since you know you're not going to maintain 75% of your hit points for very long, when you have to get in close, there's no need for this one. You're not going to get very much use out of it. You don't need to get to the battle any quicker for preheating. This is mainly for destroyers. And what are the, let's see, the details. We have sonar, precise aim, air defense. I'm going to want another precise aim, I'm pretty sure. And for the air defense, I'm not going to worry too much about the air defense or the sonar. So, let's see. You know what? I'm not going to give it another precise aim. Honestly, I'm not. I was thinking about giving it another one. I think you're going to have better use out of Daredevil. You're going to take a lot of damage from playing aggressively. All of my builds, by the way, are aggressive builds. Or most of them. Sorry, you know what? Not all of my builds are aggressive. I'll get to that. Not all of them are aggressive. I'll get to that way later in the video. Maybe like in an hour when I finally get to the end. To where I'll talk about the ship that's not aggressive. And I'm going to go with Victorious Charge. I'm gonna go probably Generalist. And I will increase my duration of precise aim. Now, when you need to know to increase that duration, what you need to know is the reload time is 10 seconds, and precise aims are 20 seconds. So when you look at precise aim skill, increase your gun accuracy by 25% for 20 seconds. Cooldown is 75 seconds. You're probably not going to be able to hit that precise, like, launch, because by the time your finger travel, I mean, I only play with one hand. I can only play with one hand, so it might be different for y'all if y'all can hit precise aim with your left thumb and then fire with your right thumb. But if y'all didn't know, my left hand's paralyzed, so partially paralyzed. I can't use it to play the game. And so by the time I hit precise aim with my index finger on the left side of the screen, and then move my hand to the right side of the screen to hit shoot, which, by the way, I play on an iPad. By the time I move to the right side of the screen and fire, I've lost a few milliseconds. So I cannot get off 2 salvos of precise aim within 20 seconds when my reload time is 10 seconds. And honestly, I don't think y'all can either. I think it's too, like, if you're 1 millisecond off from a perfect, like, hitting both buttons at the exact same time, I don't think anyone can get off two salvos. So you're gonna want to increase your marksman duration of precise aim. That way you can get off 2 salvos of precise aim per use. And I'm gonna go with Adrenaline Rush because of how aggressive I'm gonna be playing this ship. And going to go with Demolition Expert. We don't have secondaries, do we? Sometimes cruisers have all 3, but I don't think, yeah. So we're gonna go with Demolition Expert. We are using AP rounds. And probably going to go with, how much, let's see, torpedo. Probably, man, I don't know. Do I think that I'm going to be getting a lot of, there's like, you have to weigh it out. Is it better for you to get, because 1.5 damage to enemy ships, like, after obtaining any medal, how often do you get a medal in your battle to then get this activated, and then the benefit from it, it's not very much. In this ship, like, I don't think that I would want to, I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't know, but I don't think I would want to take on enemy ships by myself in this ship. I would want to go in with someone else. I mean, I could by themselves, but if it's me versus another skilled player, I'd prefer not to try and take them out all by myself in this ship. It doesn't seem like I haven't played it, but it doesn't seem like much of a solo ship unless you just out-angle them. You land your rounds way better than they do. That's your best bet if you're going 1v1 versus another enemy. That's what I would think. This AP damage is awesome. 10-second reload time is awesome. 8 guns is awesome. It depends on how accurate they are, the dispersion on those main guns. I think you're better off if it's... Did y'all hear that background? You hear that? Did you hear that muscle car or whatever that was in the background? I have to... In fact, I might not edit that one out just to let y'all hear the kind of stuff I have to edit out all the time. Every 10 minutes. Now there's humming in the background that I'm gonna... Humming from another ship, another muscle car. I'm gonna edit that out. Takes so long to edit the audio. And I think I was on a tangent and I forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, so I think that you're better off if it's 1v1 in this ship. Make your ship hard to hit, get at a good angle, and I think you can out damage them with your main guns if it's like cruiser versus cruiser. But I wouldn't want to. I probably wouldn't want to go in close 1v1 versus another tier 8 cruiser, because all the other tier 8 cruisers that have torpedoes or have better torpedoes than this one, as far as I know. So, but I will probably go with reduction of flooding, because since you're gonna have to get so close to be aggressive, you might need to be using. You might not have your damage control kit. You might have to use it, and then you're gonna stay in range and get hit again with fire flooding, and so you might need to. You might not be able to activate that to reduce flooding. So I would go with this for survivability, and because you're getting in so close, I'm gonna go with this, your protection of your deck and superstructure for survivability. I think that's everything for this ship. Let's move on to the Admiral Hipper. I've had a bad experience with Admiral Hipper because I played it before they buffed it a long time, probably almost a year ago. And also that may have also been because I didn't fully upgrade it when I played it, but I didn't have it elite, so it's been a long time. And also I've gained a lot of skill since then, since about a year ago. So when I say about a year, I'm talking like maybe 9 months ago. Let's see, it's late January, maybe 10 months ago. Could be 9 months ago, but I've gained a lot of skill, so I might like it better now. I haven't played it in a long time. I actually bought the ship back. I sold it way back then. I bought it back on my main account, but I haven't been playing it at all. So I don't know whether this is truly a good ship or not. I'm pretty sure. I think that they buffed it at some point. Let's look what it has. Sonar, precise aim. Give it this camouflage, increase its main battery range, torpedo range, burst speed, and reduce surface detection. I know that it has short range torpedoes. You're going to be wanting to use those torpedoes. 10-second reload time. Let's start setting up the commander first this time, actually. Let's assign this commander from the... Was that on the T-61 and I or was... I'm confused. Did it already have a command? I just got really confused just now. Okay, what is this? This did not... This came from the T-61, I think. I would have never set this up for the Admiral Hipper. So... doing this for... I'm going with this. And I'm going to do this quickly. So you're going... I forget that not everyone's going to have watched all my other ship setup, so I do need to explain all this for those that skip forward to this segment of the video. So I'm going with the torpedo survivability here. I'm going to go with... Because you are going to be getting close to enemy ship to launch your torpedoes off. And you are going to be I'm pretty sure, let's see, you're probably going to be a pretty good destroyer hunter in this ship. I'm always going to use AP rounds. Look at the difference here. This thing has a 6% chance of setting fire, which is below what you would want on a cruiser. And the AP rounds is over 300 damage higher. It's over 400 damage higher than the HE damage. 401 damage higher than the HE. So you're always going to be wanting to use your AP rounds. it doesn't have high enough of a fire chance to be using that. You're going to optimize your damage. By far, you're going to be wanting to use AP rounds. And this, and I forgot, what are we got sonar, precise aim. You have 3 precise aim. And I think that that's sufficient. If you find that you're running out of precise aims and you want another one, then go with that. I think 3 is generally a good amount. So I'm actually going to go with Daredevil here. I'm not going to increase the number of precise aims that I have, but I will increase my duration of precise aims so that I can get 2 salvos off rather than 1. How you determine that is the reload time is 10 seconds, and precise aim lasts for 20 seconds. You can see that by looking here. And so to get 2 salvos off per precise aim, they give me 6 total precise aim salvos. I'm going with this to increase the duration, reduce the cooldown time. And I don't care about sonar. I hate sonar. It's not useful. I don't think sonar is useful at all. I mean, it's somewhat useful, but I would never boost the skill with my commander skills. Everything else is so much more useful for commander skills. And I'm going to go with I don't expect to be maintaining 75% of my HP, so I'm going to go with high alert. The torpedo range on this thing is so short that you're going to need to get in close to use those torpedoes, which means you're going to be taking a lot of damage. This thing is good. This thing would be good at hunting destroyers, except that you're not going to want to rely on your torpedoes to take out the destroyers. You do want to detect the destroyers, but your main guns is going to be what ultimately you're going to want to bait and dodge enemy torpedoes, but don't rely on yours. Rely on your main guns to take those out. Like, your torpedoes would be great if they hit the destroyer, but just don't rely on it. Make sure you land your rounds, because your rounds are powerful, and they're generally really accurate on German cruisers. Now let's look at some other stats before we do this. Let's look at some other stats. We have pretty good survivability. Look at these stats here. That's pretty good. That's not bad. In fact, I'd say it's good. I'm not going to say like excellent. I'll just say it's good. We have good survivability. And turn time. I don't like that turn time at all, considering the way you need to get those torpedoes off on both sides. You need to dodge torpedoes. I'm going with double steering here. You already have, I'm satisfied with the survivability. I was not satisfied with the turn time, so that's why I went with double steering. I'm jumping all over the place, aren't I? I was just doing commander skills, now I'm on equipment. So, for the first option, you can have more accurate, you have to ask yourself, do you want more accurate shots, more frequent shots, or better traverse speed? Well, I don't remember how accurate the shots are, but they're pretty accurate. I don't expect that you would need better dispersion. You could. I don't expect that you would. Maybe better reload time. You might take that. That also reduces your survivability, and your main guns are going to be a big source of damage with how much AP round damage you have in here. 991. You have about 1,000 AP damage per round. When we have 8 rounds, you're gonna have 7,000 something AP damage, because it's not quite 1,000. So if it was 1,000 times 8, 8,000, but it's not quite 1,000. So you're gonna have the high 7,000s per round. But you also have to take into account the damage reduction here that ships have. So your 7,000 something damage is gonna hit another enemy ship. Like, say it hits the Charles Martel, and then your rounds get reduced by 9%. Or on this ship, your rounds get reduced by 6%, your salvo damage. This ship, your rounds are going to get reduced by 10.5%. Take that into account. So, but it still does a lot of damage. So I don't want to reduce the survivability of my main guns. But let's look at how they traverse. I am going to be turning around a lot. They have 9 degrees a second. That's not that good. I'm not satisfied with that. I'm probably going to be satisfied with this. I definitely, like, 5% reduction in reload time would be good, but I don't want to sacrifice the survivability of those main guns since I'm going to use them so much. So I'm going to go with traverse speed, since I am going to be turning around a lot, baiting, dodging torpedoes, and getting my torpedoes off on both sides. And then because of that, I'm going with these options here. Auto resupply, make sure that's always selected. Auto resupply here. Now let's go fill this out. we have, or finished filling it out. I'm gonna go with probably Generalist to get that HP return, because I'm gonna be playing so aggressively. You have to get in so close to launch those torpedoes. And probably Adrenaline Rush here, because of the aggressive playstyle. And I am not too, let's see, how confident am I that I can get first strike in every battle that I play on Admiral Hipper? I'm not too confident in that, in first strike every single time I play Admiral Hipper, but because of how close I'm going to be getting to the enemy to get my torpedoes off, I just might get hit by torpedoes a few times before I get out of there, because I'm going to want to stay in there to keep using those torpedoes and whatnot. I might end up getting flooding, so I'm going to reduce that to increase my survivability. And for the elite bonus, main battery traverse speed or damage reduction and citadel protection, I'm probably going to go with damage reduction and citadel protection. Main battery traverse speed, we have 10.8 degrees a second, and that's not excellent, but it's also not bad. I would want this, honestly, I would want this, but I think I'm better off surviving to do more damage. I think that this is going to help me survive and do more damage in the long run, like throughout the rest of the match, than this. I don't think this is going to increase my survival as much as this will, because while I'm waiting for my main guns to turn around to the other side, I have my torpedoes to continue doing damage in the meantime. When I turn around and I can't use my main guns anymore, at least I can launch those torpedoes to do some damage while I still wait for the main guns to turn around. I think that this is going to give me a better overall protection from enemy ships and help me survive than this. This would only be beneficial. This would be more beneficial, this would be more beneficial than this. The advanced turret would be more beneficial than the improved main armor belt if my main gun turning around quicker meant that I was going to sink the enemy ship quicker, thus reducing the amount of damage that I take. I think this is going to reduce my damage more than getting these turned around quicker. So there we go. This is fully set up. Let's move on to this ship. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it? I think that it's not Chapayev, but like I want to say it. Like it makes me want to say Chapayev if you like if you see the name really quickly. But being a Russian ship and the way they pronounce those letters, the Russian pronunciation, I have no idea like what the true pronunciation is. If it was English, it'd be Chapayev. But it's not an English name, it's a Russian ship. So, I know that Russian cruisers have good AP rounds, and they do long range shots, 12.5 kilometer range shots. They have good AP damage, over 100 higher, and at tier 10 you're going to be wanting to use AP damage anyways. I'm going to go ahead and set up this commander that way. Sometimes on some ships, some things to keep in mind is like, for example, on the Yorck, you're going to be wanting to use HE damage on the Yorck, but AP damage on your Hindenburg, and AP damage on your Admiral Hipper. So for the commander skill, for example, you might use, if you have this unlocked already, you might use HE shell penetration for your tier 7 German cruiser, but not for your tier 8 or 10 German cruiser. That's something to keep in mind when you're setting up your ships. But for this ship, you do use AP. I think you would want to use AP rounds. Anyways, you have a 6% chance of setting fire. That's generally not good enough for me to want to use HE rounds unless, well, I say unless, I'm just thinking like, I'm trying to think like what circumstance would I use it? Like even if the HE and AP damage were both right at 500 damage for both HE and AP, like that's, and it had a 6% chance of setting fire, that's when I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna use that. Now it does have a 7.5, a little longer than 7.5 second reload time, but still, like I just hate this 6.5 second. I prefer guaranteed damage than random number generator, so I'm gonna go with AP, and also you're gonna be using AP anyways at tier 10 for the tier 10 Russian cruiser. Let's see, turret traverse speed is 8 degrees a second. I'm gonna want quicker than that, definitely gonna want quicker than that. Turn time is 10.2 seconds, that's horrendous. So I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure what I'm gonna do is go with traverse speed and double steering. And so, definitely just missed my button both times. And then, something you might want to consider though is the reason why I went with that is because Russian cruisers are a prime target for aircraft carriers, destroyers, anyone with torpedoes. Russian cruisers generally have really bad damage reduction, torpedo damage reduction, but most of all, they don't have the best anti-aircraft. They get set on fire a lot generally. And so, because of that, I mean, when I'm an aircraft carrier, I love targeting Russian cruisers. Like, I'm like, oh yes, a Russian cruiser, I'm gonna eat him alive. And so, that's why I'm going with double steering, because if I'm playing a Russian cruiser, I want to be able to dodge those planes that I know are probably going to be coming my way, or torpedoes that are probably going to be coming my way. I want to be able to dodge them effectively, and this thing's so bad at steering and about turning around. Look at the time to full speed, almost 20 seconds. In fact 20 seconds. I would rather have better acceleration than turn actually right there. That's really bad. I'm glad I caught that. So now I've reduced the time to full speed by 4 seconds. My turn time increased by less than a second. So I think that was a good swap. Having acceleration and so one acceleration, one steering, and main battery traverse speed. Those are the weaknesses. So notice here I'm boosting the weaknesses of this ship. Rather than boosting all the strengths, I'm boosting the weaknesses. And I might continue doing that throughout the rest of my setup, like with my commander skills. Let's see when we get there. And let's also look at, after I do this, always equip this on auto resupplies. What are the elite bonuses? You don't need more firing range, and you might want more, you definitely want more traverse speed on your main batteries, and reload time. Russian cruisers in general are really good at sniping. They're really good at long range, accurate long range shots. Okay, so you have accurate long range shots. They're already known for that. So do you need to make your shots more accurate? I don't think so. Do you need increased range? Like you could, but are you really going to utilize 4% increased range over 3% reload time and traverse speed? I think you're going to get way more use out of reduced reload time and increased traverse speed than you will over 4% increased range. Like, how often are you going to spend 12.43 kilometers away from the enemy? I would bet you're probably going to be like, watch your shots when you're aiming down your sights. See how far away those enemies are. I highly doubt you're going to be spending enough time at maximum range to utilize 4% increased range. So, take into account how useful a stat actually is before you choose it. We just increased all of this. Anti-aircraft torpedo speed. Torpedoes? This thing has torpedoes? It does have torpedoes. Wow, interesting. That changes things. That changes things a lot. You're gonna need to get in close to launch those torpedoes. Huh. Let's see. Okay, so now that I'm noticing, oh wow, that changes things a lot. Its main battery only does 590 damage, and I don't know why it didn't click a second ago, but 500. So we just got done with Admiral Hipper, which did nearly 1,000 damage per round, AP round damage. This does 590, that's significantly less. You're going to want to use your torpedoes on this ship. You can't just stay at long range. Yeah, so even more of a reason why not to increase your main battery firing range. You can't stay at long range to be effective. I mean, you can do something in the battle, but if you want to optimize your performance, you don't want to be at max range. You want to be getting in close. You need to use those torpedoes, but because of the survivability, look at, because of how bad this thing can take damage, like, it's not very good at surviving. It has a 6% damage reduction overall. Horrible. And 10.5 damage reduction from torpedoes, 10% fire and flooding resistance, 7.5% citadel protection. This thing, nah, I don't want to play this, honestly. Actually, when I see these stats, now that I know it has torpedoes, now that I've realized 590 is not good for AP damage and you need to use those torpedoes, 4.5 range on the torpedoes, 4.5 kilometers, with a surface detection of about 10 kilometers. Oh my gosh, I don't want to play this. I mean, who knows, like, it might have such good accuracy that it's still fun to play. 7.5, I guess here, the 7.5 second reload time makes up for that definitely makes up for the lower AP round damage. You might still be able to be kind of effective. I say kind of because I don't know. You might be able to be kind of effective depending on the dispersion of your rounds at long range without using your torpedoes. But here's the deal. So now that I know all of this, the surface detection, the torpedo range. Alright, so now that I know all this, I can take it all into account. The way that I would play this ship is you start out at long range, and then as the battle progresses, after a couple ships sink, then you move in. I would not be capping zones in this ship. I would let my teammates cap the zones unless, when I say unless, like, it's very situational. If you're on a map that's like the big circle, there's just one zone to cap, just a circular zone in the middle. I would not go cap unless other teammates are going in with me. I would not ever go in by myself at the beginning of a match unless my teammates go in with me. If my teammates don't go cap, too bad. Like, first off, if my teammates don't go in and cap at the beginning of the match, I'm not going to go in all by myself. First off, because that's not going to be enough to cap the zone. There's definitely going to be 2 or more enemies trying to cap as well. But also, you can't sustain damage in this ship. It doesn't survive very well. You need other ships to be taking the damage. You need other ships to be the distraction, so you can be getting off your rounds from long range while other ships are the distraction. They're taking the damage, they're soaking up that damage. They're the damage sponges while you're in the background supporting them. That also means you need to support them. You're not going to want to solo. You probably can't solo ships, enemy ships in this thing. You don't want to try to be the solo hero in this ship at all. This is a support ship. You support your teammates. Watch who they're targeting and target them. Target your teammates' enemies. And I love saying this. Make sure you get the last hit on the enemies. That's very good practice. Target the enemies that your teammates are targeting and make sure you get the last hit. If you practice that, yes, some people call it steal killing, but here's the deal. It increases your chance of winning. The quicker that you take out the enemy, the less damage the enemy can do. So when you and your teammates fire at the same enemy, they get taken out quicker. And what that can mean is if one of your they and an enemy are like 1v1ing each other, they're doing 1v1 and they're both getting each other down to very low hit points. You look over, both ships are about to sink, your teammate's about to sink, and the enemy's about to sink. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the last kill. You fire off a round, you only fired one salvo at the enemy, you get the tail, you get the sink, your teammate ranges, they're like, thanks, you know, he stole my kill, and goes into world chat to complain about it. You suck, you're a steal killer. Well, what your kill steal could have done is save your teammate from one more salvo from the enemy that could have taken your teammate out and could have caused your team to lose the match. A lot of times your team only wins by a few points. So by assisting your teammate in getting that last hit, you could have saved their life or another teammate's life. You never know who's targeting who. You know, sometimes when I have an enemy ship right in front of me and they're low on hit points, I will literally look right over them and they're like, the enemy might be 3 kilometers away from my ship, and I might ignore them for a second, even though they're about to sink, and fire at another ship way on the other side of them to make sure I get a really good salvo off on that other ship before they're long gone, because I have a really good shot on that other ship. So I'm going to take them out, or maybe not even take them out. Maybe it's just a cruiser. I'm in a battleship. Maybe it's just a cruiser. I see this other ship way far away. I have a really good shot on him. I know that my battleship, he might be full health. I know that I can take out half his health in one salvo, even though he's really far away. And I have this other ship right in front of me that I could also take out in one salvo. And I have hit points to spare. I might ignore the ship right in front of me to make sure that I get that really good half damage, half hit point, taken out like half the hit points of the enemy ship. It's kind of far away if it's a cruiser, because I can always come back. The ship that's right in front of me is not going anywhere. He'll still be there after one more salvo. I'll take out that other, I'll take a really good shot of the other ship first and take out half his hit points, then come back to the ship right in front of me and take him out. I've done that so many times. It's just these choices you have to make. How can you make the most use of your damage in the time that you have with the opportunities that you have? You need to capitalize on opportunities as you see them. Look around you, say, what's the best opportunity that I have right now? What's the best path to take? How can I optimize my damage? How can we take out the enemies the quickest? And although sometimes you might be able to get one more salvo off of the enemy ship right in front of you and sink them, by the time your rounds reload, that other enemy that you have a really good shot on that's kind of far away might be long gone by the time your rounds reload. You might only have that one shot. You got to take it when you see it. So where was I before all of that? You're going to want to support your teammates, make sure they're the distraction, get those last kills. That increases your stats. That gives you a better ship destruction ratio, enemy ship destruction, enemy kills ratio, whatever you call it, enemies destroyed ratio. There we go. That gives you a better enemies destroyed ratio, and it's good practice because it helps your team win, increases your teammates' survivability, and it'll save your teammates a lot of times from receiving another salvo from that enemy. So don't worry about kill stealing. Take it when you see it. Now, let's do the commander skills. Let's assign this commander based on the way we're gonna play this ship. I do not recommend this ship for new players. If you just know that if you know that you don't make the best choices in the right moments, I don't recommend this particular ship. I would recommend the Moskva. Is that how you pronounce it? Let me see. The tier 10 Russian cruiser Moskva. Yeah, that ship I think is completely fine for someone that is not confident in them making the right decisions at the right time, because in that ship you can snipe enemies from far away and you don't have torpedoes. So you don't want to be playing really aggressive, getting in really close. You want to stay at a distance. But this ship in particular, if you're the kind of player I described that you're not confident in your ability to make the right decisions at the right time, you might want to skip this ship. And I'm going to go with artillery and maintenance expert, because at the beginning of a battle, you're going to want to stay kind of far away. You're going to want to snipe those ships, and once a few enemies are destroyed, then move in with your teammates and support them, and then use your torpedoes. But don't be the aggressor at the beginning of the battle, getting in close, and because you're just going to get wrecked. You don't have the hit points, you don't have the survivability to spare the stats here. You have really bad survivability. Now let's see. Let's see what the skills are. We have precise aim, anti-air defense alert, And our we don't have the best anti-air defense anyway, so I'm not going to boost the anti-air defense. Normally, I've been boosting this ship's weaknesses. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to give it this right here, HP recovery. And I'm going to give it an additional precise aim and duration, because you're going to want to snipe at the beginning of the battles. I think you're going to get a lot of really good use out of this. I think you'll be able to utilize all of your precise aims. I'm going to give it probably generalist for reducing your fire chance. Keep in mind your fire chance is 10%, not very good. So you're going to get a HP return and increased fire chance resistance to fire, I meant, and damage reduction from fire. Flooding reduction, I'm going to do with the flooding reduction. Remember, this is a support ship. On aggressive ships, I would go with Daredevil and Adrenaline Rush. This is a support ship. You can't play terribly aggressive with this at the beginning of a battle. And you're always going to want to be with your teammates. And I don't even think it has secondaries. No secondaries. So we're going with Demolition Expert. And I'm going to be probably using my AP rounds in this ship, and that'll also prepare this commander for tier 10. You will have to reset this commander anyways for tier 10. Keep that in mind, because these aren't all the same choices that I'll be making for tier 10. In fact, all of the ships I've done so far have different choices for tier 10. And I'm going to go with this because it needs this protection. Alright, that's the end of that ship. Let's double check here my equipment, because I did this so long ago, and when I set up the equipment I didn't have the right idea about the type of ship this was. I realized that afterwards. Turret traverse speed, I'm fine with that. And then we have acceleration and steering, torpedo damage reduction, acceleration. I'm changing acceleration, I think, because considering now that I've reevaluated the ship and we're playing support at the beginning, I'm not going to do acceleration. In fact, fire and flooding, I might go with fire and flooding, or no, I'm not doing fire and flooding. That'll only increase 10%, will only increase my fire and flooding to 11%. So I'm not going to do this, but just to show you the stats. Now we have fire and flooding resistance at 11%. I actually think you're better off. Probably with steering here and torpedo damage reduction here. Let's take away this. Torpedo damage reduction. That's what I'm going to do. And I was looking at that service detection we have, because you could also go with service detection to snipe ships from without being detected, but I don't think you need it. You have 9.6 kilometers and your main gun range is about 13 kilometers. I don't think you need service detection reduction, but you do need better steering and torpedo damage reduction, because as I said earlier, you're going to be an awesome target for aircraft carriers or anyone with torpedoes. Alright, make sure you support your teammates with this ship. Don't try and solo anything unless it's at the end of the battle. This is not a solo ship, this is a support ship. Alright, let's move on. We're at the Charles Martel. Man, so what are we at? We are 2 hours long video. 2 hours long. Wow. Good luck listening to all of this, man. I'm not splitting this up, sorry. I'm just gonna put it all in one awesome long video. So if you're ever on a car ride, you can like download this video and listen to it on the long car ride. Hear me for the whole time, not shutting up the whole car ride. Put me on break, pause me for a few moments, restart. Just totally kidding. I would not want to, honestly, I would not want to listen to this whole video all in one go unless you just like, I don't like listening to myself enough to listen to myself for 2 hours. No way. In fact, I don't think I could. I don't think I want to listen to anyone for 2 hours. Honestly, I don't know of anyone that I would want to listen to for 2 hours. Really, I don't. So let's see. Cars want to Martel. Oh, I already have this. Oh yeah, I already have this set up because I played it. I played this ship in my cruiser. Okay, well, let's act like I don't already have this set up. Let's act like I don't. And so first off, you want your consumables and supplies to be on auto reload and auto resupply. And you want the camouflage. It's going to give you surface detection reduction, increased max traverse speed, increased torpedo range, and main battery firing range. And the type of ship this is, let's evaluate. In fact, I forget, this was over a month ago when I played this, and I only played a few battles in this ship. We have 9 main guns, 8% fire chance. We have over 200 damage difference between high explosive and AP round damage, 9.63. I'm very satisfied with the turret traverse speed that's just stock with just supplies equipped. I'm not satisfied with the turn time, and not satisfied with its survivability. Something to know about French cruisers. Did I call this British earlier? If I did, I meant to say French. This is a French cruiser, and something to know is that they have really good. I'm not satisfied with this anti-aircraft. They have really good torpedo launch angles. You can launch your torpedoes at really good angles. I'm not satisfied with the anti-aircraft, but at the same time, I'm probably not gonna boost it. 40-second reload time on torpedoes. Long-range torpedoes, I like that. The torpedoes are longer range than my surface detection, even though I'm not going to get too much use out of that. Your strong torpedoes long. Really good reload time, but it's only 2 sets of 3. So 1 set of 3 on each side. You're going to want to make sure you do a lot of damage with your main guns. Alright, so your torpedoes should not be a primary source of damage in this ship, but just a really good cherry on top. You do want to make sure you get your torpedoes off, but you might want to save them for not so risky situations. You don't want to rely on them. You can use them to initiate a battle between you and another enemy, but I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know. It's tricky. You have to evaluate. I wouldn't necessarily rely on my torpedoes to make sure that I take out the enemy. But I would just use them as a little extra. Use them as like, hey, I'm doing a lot of damage to you. Oh, and by the way, here's these torpedoes. Eat them promptly. And so let's see. I'm probably gonna go with AP round damage. And this thing already has, I'm pretty sure this thing already has really good dispersion. But I am really satisfied with the traverse speed. What is the... Oh, no wonder. I have elite gun operator for my elite skills. That's why it has good traverse speed. It's not stock. Let's see. You don't need increased max speed or acceleration. You really don't. Look at that. 13-second time to full speed. That's great. So I'm probably gonna go. The first thing I don't need more acceleration. I could use deck protection, but I don't think that it's as useful as turning around quicker. Fire and flooding resistance. You should be able to well, if you go with double steering, let's see the damage reduction. I don't think fire and flooding resistance is as useful. The 1% isn't as useful. That'll go from 10 to 11%. I don't think that's as useful as reducing your turn time. So let's see what that turn time did. Look at the turn time before and after. We have 9-second turn time. I'm not satisfied with that. Definitely want that better. So now with just one of those, we have 8.23 second turn time. And if we add another one, we have 7.2. Now I'm satisfied with that. That's really good. That's way better than 9. So I'm going to keep this double steering because I'm really satisfied with that. Like, Like, do I necessarily need torpedo damage reduction when I'm confident in my ability to bait and dodge torpedoes? No. And it's already 10.5%. It's not the worst. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Torpedo damage reduction. 9% damage reduction. That is not the worst, and it's also not the best. But I'm satisfied with that. I mean, there's not really anything I could really do anyways with that on this or this. But so right here, all I can really do, and my last choice is to reduce the reload time or increase the traverse speed. So this reload time, am I satisfied with 10.67 seconds? Yes, I'm satisfied with that. That's fine. I would like if it was lower, that'd be great, but I'm not complaining. The turret traverse speed. Oh, by the way, this reload time was 11 seconds, but the elite skill gunner operating 3% reduction of 11 brings it down to that. So watch this. Right now, the reload time is 10.67. If I switch it to this, it's going to be 11%. 11 seconds, I mean, not 11%, 11 seconds. So, 11 seconds reload time. So this 3% doesn't do a lot, keep that in mind. Now we're at 10.67, yep. And so, am I satisfied with turret traverse speed? Yeah, I'm content, but I would like more traverse speed than I would more reload time. And I think that this has pretty good accuracy and shell dispersion, so I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with main battery traverse speed. So now I'm fully satisfied. Wow, 11.5%. Why I keep saying that? 11. I've been talking way too long. It's been over 2 hours. 11.5 degrees a second. I'm gonna have to pay attention to what I'm saying, make sure I don't say the wrong thing. 11.5 degrees per second. I'm satisfied now with those basics. Let's go to the commander skills. Assign. And did I steal it? I did take it from a different ship. Which ship did I take this from? I don't remember. Let's guess. Let's guess what I took it from. This looks like what, because I could have seen it before I hit the button, but I didn't. You know what? This could have been anything. There's nothing that gives it away. Well, what was this on? It's totally possible that this could have came from the tier 10 ship. Maybe. Let's see. Possible. Very possible. Let's go see if I still have a commander on the tier 10. Do I still have a commander on... But where is it? This ship. I do. I do still have a commander. Well, I can't back up the video to see where I took this commander from. Oh well. Reset. Maybe it was the tier 7. Was it the tier 7 ship? Was it the tier 7? Algérie. No, it was not. Okay, I don't know where this came from. So. Oh well. Alright, let's set this up. You see, y'all will know, because y'all will have seen this. And you can back up the video, but I can't because I'm recording. And can you imagine if I forgot to hit record on my iPad and I'm recording my screen and my audio for all this time, like an hour, and what if my screen wasn't recording the whole time? Wouldn't that suck? That would be very disappointing. And so that would actually that would make me stop and pick this back up another day. That's what that would make me do. Y'all would not have a video tonight. Instead, y'all would have a video tomorrow. Wouldn't that be horrible? Instead of a video tonight, you'd have one tomorrow. I can't even imagine what that would be, how horrible that would be for you guys. Total sarcasm, by the way. Just joking. Alright. My brain is slowing down. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? Set up our commander. And the way that I'm going to play this ship, based on these stats, is with... I'm going to be using AP damage. It has 200 damage more per round with 9 rounds. I'm just going to be using AP damage. I prefer guaranteed damage rather than guessing random number generator. I also need to remember that not all of y'all have watched this whole video. Some of y'all have skipped forward, so I've been talking for 2 hours. 2 hours and like 15 minutes, something like that. So there's a lot of tips that I've given in all of these other ships that I might be forgetting or leaving out to give you guys. And for those that have watched the whole time, I might be repeating myself on a lot of tips because I try to remember to tell you guys the goal here is that you guys should be able to set up these ships all on your own without needing to look at my builds. So there's a lot of things you have to take into account when you're setting up the ship the way. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's look at these stats and determine the way that we're going to play this ship. And I already did that on a different ship. I don't remember if I already did that on this ship or if it was the previous ship. I think I've done that on most of these ships. I hope I haven't already done that on this ship. The way I'm going to play this ship is I'm going to use AP rounds. I have a good reload time. I have 9. They're generally pretty accurate on these cruisers. Very satisfied with the accuracy, so I'm going to be using that. Guaranteed damage with AP rounds. And with 2 sets of 3 torpedoes, I have 1 set of 3 torpedoes on each side. That's like the cherry on top. I think, you know what I did? I do think I already talked about this on this ship. Man, when you've been talking for over 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours, it's hard to remember what you've already said and what you haven't. So I lose track of time. So I'm gonna go with this. Let's look at the commander skills. Engine accelerator and rapid reload. And since I have 3 of each, I'm not gonna give myself an additional one of each of these. I'm satisfied with 3. So since I'm satisfied with 3, I'm not gonna increase. I'm not gonna give it engine overload. I could, but you can get use out of this. How about you decide? Do you want to use it or not? That's what y'all need to make this. Y'all need to make this decision. If you're gonna choose engine overload, what that's gonna look like practically is you can get to a base quicker to cap if you need to. If you need to, don't use it if you don't. You need to use it at the right time if you do. Or if you say you go in and you're going to torpedo an enemy ship, then you need to turn around and get out of there ASAP. You need to go the other way and get some distance away from the battleship or the other cruiser. You don't want to just be sitting right next to them firing off your main guns and see who can do more damage per second. You don't want to do that. You want to get out of there. And if you are going to do that, then you might want to use your engine accelerator to speed up the time it takes you to leave. To reduce the amount of time it takes you to leave the area. On the other hand, since we're using AP rounds, you have more penetration power, sustainability. You might want to go with demolition expert, and that's what I'm going to go with. I think I'll get more use out of this, taking out enemy main guns, enemy secondary guns, destroyers, torpedoes. You can do that. You can fire your rounds at a destroyer and hit their torpedoes on the ship where they launch from, and you can take out their torpedo launchers so that they can't fire torpedoes at you. That's totally possible if you haven't noticed that already. So this demolition expert increases your chance of doing such things. I think that's more useful than having a 25% increased skill duration of your engine boost. And this ship, I would definitely go with horizontal protection expert. Generally would go with that on most of the cruisers, if not all cruisers. And did this thing, I think it had rapid reload, right? Didn't it? Rapid reload, yes. So I'm probably going to increase the duration of my rapid reload. Yeah, I'm going to increase that duration. And what that's going to do is, you see I have a 10.6 second reload time. And if you look at the skill, rapid reload increases your main gun reload time by 30% for 20 seconds. So throughout that 20 seconds, and then you just increased it by, what was it, 25%? So now for 25 seconds, your main guns reload quicker by what percent? What was it? By 30%. Your main guns reload 30% quicker for 25 seconds. So what that should equate to is 3 salvos of main guns within that time. I haven't done the calculation, but I would imagine that this 10.6 second reload time, I'd imagine you're going to be able to get off 3 salvos before that reload. Man, my mind is drawing, but rapid reload. Man, my mind is drawing blanks of talking for 2.5 hours. I need a break. I'm excited to take a break after this ship. And so yeah, I would go with this. And let's see, the way I'm going to be playing this ship, I'm going to go with Daredevil. Would I go with Daredevil? Yeah, probably. It's probably going to take a lot of, this is the things you have to think about. It's probably going to take a lot of damage. So how much time are you going to spend below 33% of your maximum HP? And the goal of this, on this particular ship, you would choose this if you want, you would choose Daredevil if you want to increase your chance of survival. Daredevil is generally always a benefit. It helps you out with offense and defense. I think it's particularly more beneficial in terms of defense for this ship. Not all ships, but for this ship, it's more beneficial for its defense than its offense. It'll help you dodge torpedoes and maneuver better as you leave the danger zone. And I'm probably going to go with Generalist because I'm going to want to get that HP return on this particular ship. I am an aggressive player, and this ship doesn't have the best survivability. Has 9% damage reduction. Just to show you all that didn't see the other ones, look at this ship. It has, look at this survivability. 34,000 hit points. Its damage reduction is 10.5%. You got Citadel protection 12.5 fire and flooding resistance, 12% torpedo. Then look at the Charles Martel. Everything goes down. Like literally every stat goes down. And so because of that, that's why I'm going with Generalist. I need that HP return. And for this one, let's actually jump over here. And precise aim. We don't have precise aim, do we? No, we don't have precise aim. So the only useful option here is fully prepared to reduce your repair kit cooldown time. And this is the is this? No, I missed this one. Oh well, let's do this real quick. I'm gonna go with Adrenaline Rush. Because I'm probably gonna spend a lot of time below 25% of my maximum HP because of how aggressive I am, and I need to, if I am that low on HP, I want these benefits to help me take out the enemy ship quicker. And you don't have to go with that. If you give set on fire a lot, if you notice that, you might want to go with Extinguisher. That'll just increase your survivability. If you're not going to play as aggressive as I am, go with this. That's how you make those kind of decisions. If you're not going to play this ship very aggressively, if you're just going to be a support ship, support your teammates, you don't want to ever solo ships, like solo a destroyer, hunt a destroyer, or if you're really bad at dodging torpedoes, then you might want to go with your compartment maintenance and extinguisher if you don't play these ships very well and you need increased survivability. I don't think that I need that. I think that I would just love, I think a better offense increases my defense. And so if I can take out the enemy a lot quicker, I think that's the best way for me to survive in this ship. That's why I made that decision. Now, one more thing for rapid reload. If you generally have a hard time landing your rounds, you might not want to go with Master Reloader because you're not going to get that much benefit out of it if you're missing a whole lot of your rounds. So you might want to go with compartment maintenance to survive better. Since I'm confident in my ability to land my rounds, that's why I'm going with Master Reloader. I think I'll make more use out of this than this. So this is finally the last one. And then I get to go on break. Yes! 2.5 hours. Then I get to take a break. We're almost at 5 minutes from 2.5 hours on this audio recording. So I don't need preheating, and so you don't need preheating. You're not a destroyer. You don't need to get to the cap zone quicker. And how much time are you going to be spending above 75% HP? I personally am not going to be spending a ton of time above 75% HP. The guns are already really accurate. They already have good dispersion on them. I have nothing to complain about. We already addressed my main battery traverse speed. And so with our equipment and with our elite gun operator, elite skill, so we don't need that. I'm going to go with high alert. That's how I make that decision. Guys, I hope that this video helps you learn how to make these decisions all on your own. So let's see, what do I have next? In fact, I might not take a break. I might, cause I don't have too much more to talk about. Now I'm going to run through tier 7 and 10 and show you the setups that I have. Now I hope y'all remember while I look through these ships that I'm making these decisions based on my aggressive playstyle. And I've just, for 2.5 hours, walked through the 8 tier 8 cruisers. 2.5 hours to walk through each of the 8 tier 8 cruisers and teach y'all how to make the decisions on your own to come up with a good build. I walked you through my thinking, the way I evaluate ships. Literally, you just got the longest peer into my mind that you might ever get. The way that I think. You can learn the way that I think by listening to those 2.5 hours. If I ever play competitively, your best shot at beating me, unless you're just simply a better player and that's all you need, it's totally possible. There's a lot of players that play better than me. There's a lot of more skilled players than I am. But if you're not better than I am, your best shot at beating me is knowing the way that I think. And you have the perfect opportunity to do that by listening to the first 2.5 hours of this video and seeing the way that I set up my ships and listening to and evaluating the way that I make the decisions that I make, the reasons I make those decisions, and being able to predict what I'm going to do before I do it. Because that's what I do for most enemies. I've played every type of ship there is to play, and I learn the way those ships operate. And a lot of ships you don't even need to play them. Just look at the way they're built, evaluate the way that they should be played, and use that to evaluate and predict what enemies are going to be doing in the battles. If you know that a certain ship only has 2 torpedoes on each side with an X second reload time, and you dodge those 2 sets on that side of their ship, now you know you can play more aggressively and get in close to that ship. If you know that the ship has no more torpedoes for a minute or 40 seconds or whatever, if you know a shimakaze has missed all 15 of their torpedoes and they have 80 something seconds before they have more torpedoes, then, or 76, what is it, 80 something, 83 seconds, I forget, seconds, then you know you can get in close and land your rounds and take them out. You don't have to act like they're gonna magically shoot more torpedoes. If you can predict enemy ships, if you know how to play their ship, you have a better chance at taking them out. If you know what they're gonna do and what they're not capable of, you have a way better shot at taking them out. And so if I'm ever playing competitively and you want to increase your odds of survival, listen to the first 2.5 hours of this video. You'll know the choices that I make, why I make them, my play style. You'll have a first-hand testimony from someone that knows YeahBuoy the best, who is me. I know myself the best, and I gave you a really deep peer into my mind. But I hope that from all of that, it teaches y'all how to make these decisions on your own. If you're an aggressive player, then hopefully this tutorial will teach you those things. Now let's get into tier 7. Now I'm not gonna walk through each of these ships and why I set them up. That's why I spent the first 2.5 hours setting up each of the tier 8 cruisers. But here are, did I just do that twice? Here are the, alright, let me restart. I'm gonna restart. What I'm gonna show you guys, man, my mind is fried. 2.5 hours of talking, my mind's fried. Let me restart real quick. Sorry guys. What I'm gonna do is show you the commander skills, the equipment, and the elite options for each of the tier 7 ships and each of the tier 10 ships. So, already hit the wrong button, camouflage. My mind is fried right now. Commander skills for the Atlanta. And we have the equipment for the Atlanta. And we have the elite option for the Atlanta. New Orleans commander skills and equipment. And the elite option. Myoko commander skills, equipment, and the elite option. A lot of people go with elite gun operator, by the way. Totally fine if you go with that. The differences is the top options: hit points and anti-aircraft damage, or reduce reload time. Keep in mind that 3% reload time, if you reduce it, we'll take the Myoko's reload time from 11 seconds down to 10.67. Is that it? 10.67, I think. Reload time. So it's not much of a difference. I think that, and both options have main battery traverse speed 7%. So I think keeping 11 seconds reload time rather than 10.67, I think that's not as good as this. I think this is better. 2% hit points and anti-aircraft damage. I love targeting Myokos with my aircraft carriers, so keep that in mind. A lot of other aircraft carriers are going to like that as well. Let's look at the Fiji commander skills and equipment. And we have, let's see, elite options. The Yorck. Now, something to notice with the Yorck, did that out of order. Something to notice is that I have the high explosive rounds here selected for the commander skill, but I did not select that for the Admiral Hipper or the Hindenburg. Admiral Hipper is tier 8 German cruiser, Hindenburg is tier 10 German cruiser. I have AP rounds. You should not be using, when I say should not, I say if you want to optimize your damage output, then you should be using the AP rounds in your tier 8 and 10 German cruisers, but high explosive in your Yorck, in your tier 7. Here's the equipment that I'm using. Keep in mind, sometimes I boost ships' weaknesses and sometimes I boost ships' strengths. And almost all the time, I am setting up for an aggressive playstyle. I don't always do that. For example, I believe the Shchors, I can't remember, I believe I set this up for, in fact I don't want to say because I can't remember if I set this up for a support ship or an aggressive ship. I think that I set this up, let's see if I can figure out what I did. Did I set this up for an aggressive playstyle or support playstyle? This is aggressive. Right here, this is Adrenaline Rush, this is aggressive, but it could also be defensive in some situations. And let's evaluate how I did. Man, that time to full speed sucked. I'm glad I did that. That's probably around 19-20 seconds before I gave it the engine boost accelerator. Let's see how it turns around. 8 seconds. Let's evaluate how I did on this setup. I don't remember when I set this up, but I also don't know if I would agree with this thing. Let's see, do I agree with the way that I set this up? Yes or no? Let's see its survivability chance here. Oh gosh, this is horrendous. This is going to be a support ship. Horrendous. You do not want to YOLO in this ship. You don't want to... Okay, so the way you're going to play this ship is the same way you're going to play the tier 8 ship, which I explained earlier. You're going to want to support your teammates at the beginning of the battle, and you don't want to be the first, you don't want to be the only one capping a zone at the beginning of a battle if you know enemy ships are going to be going in there with you. You want your teammates to be the damage sponge while you support them. You cannot be the damage sponge in this ship. So therefore, I don't think you need engine accelerator. I might not have realized. I think because with the tier 8 ship, I didn't realize these ships had torpedoes. And then when I was setting up the tier 8, I was like, oh wait, this thing has torpedoes. Wait a second, that changes everything. Completely changes the way you play this ship. Because of that. And then man, now I have to reset up the ship. Because I know that I set it up with the wrong mindset of the type of ship it was. You don't need to get anywhere quicker in this ship. You don't need to get anywhere quicker. You don't need acceleration. But because of the 6% damage reduction, 10.5% torpedo damage reduction, actually 10.5% is not bad and it's not good. It's okay. But you do need to dodge torpedoes better. And I don't think, see, if I went with fire and flooding resistance, I would take this from 10 to 11%. But and this is going to be a choice target for enemy aircraft carriers. This is going to be a really good target for enemy aircraft carriers. You're always going to be detected. Look at this thing, 9.24 kilometer detection range. There's really good main gun range. So at the beginning of a battle, you're going to want to support your teammates. Fire from afar. Let your teammates take the damage while you support them. Target the ships that they're targeting. And then after a few enemies are sunk, and you have better odds, then you can start being more aggressive near the end of the battle. You can be aggressive in the ship near the end of the battle. Don't do it at the beginning of the battle, honestly. But basically, because you're going to be a good target for enemy aircraft carriers, and especially at tier 7 with Graf Zeppelins are going to destroy this thing so quickly. Like if you're playing a Graf Zeppelin and you see a Shchors, go for it, unless there's too many teammates nearby. This thing's best chance for survival is staying near your teammates. And so you are going to want to dodge torpedoes better. I'm probably going to go with double steering simply because it'll help you dodge those torpedoes. Now you have a 7.44 second reload time, and it'll help you fire your own torpedoes near the end of the battle when you can play more aggressively. Let's look here at would I still keeping in mind all those things, would I still keep these same selections? I would still keep this. You should not be aggressive at the beginning of the battle, so you shouldn't be being targeted a lot unless it's by aircraft carriers or battleships that know to target you and have a good shot. And I wouldn't go with air defense simply because it doesn't have very good air defense to start with. I think you're better off surviving with this. If you can get those ships sunk, make sure you get those ships sunk. Otherwise, you wasted this perk. You could have gone with this. Make sure you get those ships sunk. If you don't sink very many ships, go with air defense expert. That's how you make those decisions. And precise aim. I'm going to want precise aim and increase the duration. I think I'm satisfied. So look at this. Since I watched it, alright. So by increasing the duration of precise aim right here by 25%, precise aim is by default 20 seconds long. Okay? By increasing it by 25%, now precise aim is 25 seconds long. Okay? The reload time is 7.5 seconds. So 7.5 seconds times 3 is 7, 14, 21 plus 1.5, 22.5 seconds long, plus 7 times 3 is 21 plus, so you're gonna have 22.71. Is that right? You can get off 3 salvos and 22.7. Did I calculate that right in my head? I don't know. Someone get a calculator. And you should be able to get off 3 salvos in 22.71 seconds. I hope I'm doing the math right in my head, but either way, this duration increase allows you to have that third salvo off per precise aim. And Then with adding one more precise aim here with that skill, now you have 3 precise aims instead of 2. Alright, I think this is fun. I think this is a fine setup for being a support ship and supporting your teammates. Let's move on now to the Algérie. Here's the commander skills and the equipment and the elite option. Now let's go to tier 10. Now, for tier 10, you can set up these ships in all kinds of ways, and there really isn't a definitive best way to set up any ship yet because the meta isn't established. It's not well established. There is a meta at tier 10, but it's also very, like, it bounces around a lot. Like, there's just, you always have different enemy team compositions. It's never consistent, and the way that players play their ships is not well established yet either. Players don't yet know themselves the best way to play their ships because they don't have enough experience in tier 10 ships with full tier 10 enemy teams. Because it wasn't until just recently, at the time of making this video, it wasn't until just recently that a whole lot of players started getting to tier 10. And right now, at the beginning of 2019, this is January 27th, 2019. Right now, if you play late at night in the United States, you're either going to get half bot team, the enemy team in your team is half the players are going to be bots, or you could get a full bot team if you're in a party of 3 players, or especially if you have a tier 10 aircraft carrier or tier 9 aircraft carrier in your party, and you queue up late at night. And when I say late at night, I mean like technically early in the morning, like 1 a.m., 12:30 a.m. Well, not necessarily 12:30, maybe 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., maybe till 5 a.m. You're probably going to get a lot of full bot matches if you have an aircraft carrier on your team, because there's not enough North American players playing at tier 10 and at those late at night or early in the morning times. So players don't yet know. The meta is not well established. People don't yet know the way they're going to play, and enemy and friendly team compositions aren't well established yet either. There's not a consistent number of ships. Like sometimes you'll get 5 to 6 destroyers on the enemy team. It's ridiculous. Sometimes even 4 is ridiculous. 4 destroyers, that's ridiculous. 4 on the enemy team, 4 on your team. That makes the ship that makes the match, like, it's just not fun anymore. It makes the match tedious. It's a tedious match. I don't want matches to be tedious. I don't think anyone does. I really hope the developers increase the queue time for matches so that we get higher quality matches. I would rather wait 2 minutes for a match that's of better quality than 1 minute for a match that's of lower quality. And so anyways, off on that tangent. I've been talking for 2 hours, 45 minutes. I go on tangents a lot and my brain is fried right now. So here is the setup. This is my commander skills for the Des Moines, and if I pronounce any of these ships wrong, I don't care. Sorry, I'm sorry. But I haven't looked up. In fact, I think I can pronounce. In fact, I'm pretty sure I can pronounce all these the right way. Sometimes I pronounce ships wrong though. I think this is Des Moines, but it's an American ship, so I'm pronouncing it the way the American letters are pronounced. Des Moines. And here's my equipment. I went with alright, so here's the reason why I went with this equipment setup. This is an aggressive build, and I'm going to be hunting destroyers in this ship. We have a 6.5 second reload time. I'm going to be using AP, I think AP, right? Yeah. So the HE damage is 6.5, about 6,500 damage. That sounds weird to me. And this is about 900 damage, AP damage. That's a big difference, okay? And so I'm gonna be using AP a lot, and I want to hunt destroyers. I can turn around pretty quick, and I have really good anti-aircraft damage. So this thing eats planes for breakfast, and it can survive pretty well on its own without a lot of friendly teammates nearby to support it, simply because it has good defense. Look at its survivability. It has 41,000 hit points, which is actually kind of low compared to some of the other ships, but some of the other tier 10 cruisers, but like the Moskva, which has 50,000. But its fire and flooding resistance is 16%. Here's the elite options that I chose. I don't think with 16% fire and flooding resistance, I don't think you need this 15% increase. I think you'd be better off going with hit points, torpedo damage reduction. Since I'll be hunting destroyers, I think I'm better off with torpedo damage reduction based on my playstyle, and then the 7%, just less than half of this option right here. And so evaluate the way you're going to play these ships and determine. I think this has really good survivability, has really good reload time, has a lot of AP damage. It can maneuver really well, has really good anti-aircraft, so it can survive out in the wilderness all on its own. Take a scenic tour and be the guy that everyone hates. Just kidding. But I went with small caliber anti-aircraft damage because that boosts the higher of the two stats. And enemy carriers that don't know how good these stats are might be targeting me when I'm all on my own, because I look like a very good target when I'm all on my own out in the wilderness. Aircraft carriers might want to target me if they don't know how good I eat planes. So I'm increasing the larger of the two stats right here, and I'm increasing the shell dispersion because I want to get close to destroyers, close enough that they can't disappear again. I want to land all my rounds, make sure they all land with a really fast reload time that also makes your rounds less devastating when you miss. Makes those missed rounds less devastating because you can send another 9 rounds in 6.5 seconds. And yeah, and then I have the turn time to help me maneuver to dodge those torpedoes. I think I showed you everything here for the Moines. Let's go to the Zhao. For the Zhao, I believe, if I remember right, the Zhao is the only tier 10 cruiser that I will be using HE rounds on. Zhao has 9% chance of setting fire. All the other tier 10 cruisers have too big of a gap between the HE damage and the AP damage, making AP damage more worth it in most cases. For the Zhao, I think that I'm taking into consideration what my teammates might be doing. I think my teammates might realize at some point the AP is better than HE at tier 10 for their ships, and I think they might be using AP a lot. So if anyone's going to use it, I mean, someone's got to use HE, right? I mean, I'm the only one, as far as I remember. I'm the only tier 10 ship with 9% chance of setting fire. We have 8% Des Moines, 9% to Zhao, and Minotaur doesn't even have HE rounds. Hindenburg 6%. You don't want to be using HE on a Hindenburg. 6%. Look at the difference. 400 damage difference, over 400, between the HE damage and the AP damage. Moskva, we have 7%, and the Henry, we have 8%. So the Zhao's the only one at 9%. Someone's, there has to be at least one cruiser that's doing HE damage. Considering the Zhao has 12 main guns, and there's not that much of a difference between a little more than 100 damage difference between HE and AP. I think that a Zhao using HE is going to do a lot of good for everyone. It's going to really help your teammates, and it's not that bad of a choice for you. You might be doing more damage. As long as you land those fires and keep them going, you'll be doing more damage with HE and a Zhao than you will AP. For a Zhao, the torpedoes, dude, this thing has a wall of torpedoes. And I actually just forgot, I'm not evaluating them. I'm not supposed to be evaluating these ships. But just to say it, 4 sets of 5, this thing has 20 torpedoes, 10 on each side. You can set up a wall of torpedoes. The way I'm going to play this ship, it's just that if you need to, and now, by the way, keep in mind, the Zhao is a support ship. A Zhao, you don't want to go off all on your own. You don't want to be extremely aggressive in this ship. You need to support your teammates. Anyone that you attack, do it in a pair, at least a pair. Do it with at least one more teammate. You don't want to YOLO in this thing. Go off all on your own. and you are going to be a really good target for aircraft carriers. So if you're in a ZAL all by yourself, not near other teammates, and there's an enemy aircraft carrier, good luck, because you're going to need it. So I'm going with extinguisher and flooding, damage reduction, because even if you are in a group of teammates, there's a very high chance the enemy aircraft carrier is going to target you anyways, because you're a great target for them. So I'm going with survivability and teammate support with this build. And here's my elite option. You don't need this because you don't need to be going anywhere that your teammates aren't. You can keep up with everyone. I'm going with this. Let's see. For the Minotaur. Minotaur is the best destroyer hunter at tier 10. Hands down. The best. The best destroyer hunter. Do not go down the British cruiser line if you don't want to hunt destroyers. Because you're not going to be, in my opinion, you're not going to be making the most use of the way this ship is most effectively played. I'm not going to say like best played or you're playing your ship wrong, but the Minotaur, the British cruiser line is very effective at taking out destroyers, especially at high tiers. And with the Minotaur being the best tier 10 ship, capable of taking out destroyers, the best destroyer hunter. If you don't plan on taking out destroyers, if you don't plan on finding them and making them afraid of you, making them run away from you, I don't think you're utilizing the full potential of how effective this ship can be in tier 10 battles, especially with how many destroyers there are at tier 10. It's ridiculous how many destroyers there are at tier 10. If you want to have a lot of enemies to fire at, then get a Minotaur. You're going to have a lot of enemies to fire at. But the downside, well, by the way, look at it. Let me point this out. 3.5 second reload time on the main guns. You have 10 main guns, 3.5 second reload time. Your main gun traverse speed, 21.5 degrees a second. That is crazy. That's crazy. You're even the torpedo tubes, 25 degrees a second. That's crazy. That's just awesome. This ship is awesome. So this thing looks like a damage machine. It kind of is, but it's only a damage machine if it survives. This thing is very fragile. It's very fragile. Okay. You can wipe out a Minotaur in 2 salvos with a Yamato battleship. Okay. You have to be very careful in this ship. So you don't want this thing. If you're not going to hunt destroyers, you don't want to be hunting battleships. You shouldn't, because unless you're going in with other teammates, or if there's just no other ships nearby, whatever. If it's the best option, you have to evaluate that in real time. But if you have a perfectly fine destroyer sailing away into the Neverlands, and then you have a battleship near the battle, follow the destroyer. Don't follow him into nowhere, but only, take him out if you can. Take out the destroyer. The destroyer is the better target than the battleship, because the battleship can wreak havoc on your hit points very quickly. Okay, in fact, everyone can. The ship's so fragile. So my build is a very aggressive build. I plan on losing a lot of hit points. Here's my commander skills. Plan on losing a lot of hit points, and I plan on increasing my damage capabilities and my survivability once I lose those hit points. Okay, so these 2 options, Daredevil and Adrenaline Rush, strategically chosen. And you don't even have AP, you don't even have high explosive rounds, so you have to go with armor piercing. You don't have planes, so you'd never go with this. You have to have horizontal protection expert. It's a must. And I chose to have more accurate shell dispersion rather than more frequent. Some people choose more frequent rounds. It's totally fine. I don't like sacrificing my main gun survivability when they're so important to taking out the ships that can really turn the tide, which are destroyers. Okay, and you don't need 20% increase main Main battery traverse speed is a joke because it's already over 21%. And you do need to turn around quicker. You need to dodge those torpedoes since you're hunting those destroyers. I think this is the best build for an aggressive Minotaur, optimizing the way that it can be played, which is as the ultimate destroyer hunter. This thing eats, by the way, this thing eats planes for breakfast. If you're an aircraft carrier, it's likely that you'll see a Minotaur all by himself hunting a destroyer. You don't want to target it. You don't. I mean, you can. If you're good at if you're good at launching your torpedoes as an aircraft carrier from a distance and still hitting your mark, like a good distance, then you can target your Minotaurs. But a lot of aircraft carriers set up their torpedoes to land really close to an enemy ship so they don't have time to dodge the torpedoes. And if that's the case, which is often the case, you don't want to be targeting, you're going to get all your planes eaten up really fast. And so I'm increasing the air defense expert. That's a must because it's so useful for you to defend your team that way. Now you can play this ship another way. You can play this ship conservatively. You can stay near your teammates and support them. If you do use this as a support ship and not a destroyer hunter, go with double anti-aircraft. Okay, so that the enemies can't even think about sending planes near your teammates. But you have to stay near them. Okay, you have to stay near your teammates if you're going to be a support ship. Make it to where they have no option to send planes near your teammates by giving it double anti-air defense, okay? And you'll also want to, instead of torpedo alert, you'll want to go with battlefield support for an extra air defense alert. Because you only have two. You only have 2 air defense alerts, and you have smoke. And another thing you'll want to do for supporting your teammates is instead of going with Adrenaline Rush, you'll want to go with Mistweaver. And I haven't fully evaluated all of the options that I would choose for a support ship, but those are the most prominent ones, the most notable ones that I would go with that I want to mention. Now for the Hindenburg, here's my commander skills set up. Definitely going with the AP rounds. I've heard of people using HE rounds for Hindenburgs. I don't think that's smart. You have a 400 damage difference between HE and AP. The Hindenburg has a measly 6% chance of setting fire. Horrible. Bad choice in my opinion. I think it's an absolute must to go with extended duration of your precise aim. You have 3 precise aims, okay? And by having a 10% reload time on your main guns, if you want to get 2 salvos off on your precise aim, extend the duration on your precise aim with marksman. Hindenburg is really good at, it's kind of like an all-around ship. It can do whatever you want. I'm playing aggressively. I'm taking double steering and more accurate shots rather than more frequent shots, rather than increasing my, I think more accurate shots is going to help me more than traversing my guns, because I can at least fire torpedoes while I'm waiting for my guns to traverse if I need to continue sustaining my damage output. And here's my elite option. I chose to have damage reduction and citadel protection because I need to get in close to play aggressively and land those torpedoes. It has a very short torpedo range of 5.62 kilometers, surface detection of 9.5 kilometers. They're always going to know you're coming from way before you get even close enough to launch those torpedoes. Moskva is a support ship. I have it set up as a support ship. There's a few things I'm boosting its weaknesses. Moskva can be fired at very long range, 4.14 kilometers. It has very accurate and powerful AP rounds. It has 1,065 damage per round. You have 9 main guns with a 10.5 second reload time. I boosted its weaknesses for a few reasons. Moskvas are going to be a choice target for enemy carriers, okay? It doesn't have very good, it's not bad anti-aircraft damage, but it's also not the best. Like, a lot of ships have better anti-aircraft damage, and Moskvas take a lot of damage. And so there's a lot of things that I did. Like, I increased the torpedo damage reduction, fire and flooding resistance, ship hit points. This thing can do so much damage so easily from a long range. As an aircraft carrier, do your teammates a favor and take this guy out, because this guy can wreak havoc from a safe distance, okay? But if he's way too far away, don't target him, because keep in mind that the further an enemy ship is, as an aircraft carrier, that reduces your reload, increases your reload time. Because however long it takes your plane to go out, do damage, and come back, well, that's the length of time it's going to take you to reload. The length of time it takes to go out there increases your reload time. Planes have to come back. When they come back, then it takes another, like, what, 15 seconds to get those planes ready to go again, something like that, somewhere around that amount of time to get those planes ready to go again and out. Then you got to travel a distance again. If you're targeting enemies that are like the furthest distance away from you, that's not the best choice, not the best targets, honestly. So, but either way, if a Moskva is a good target, they are a really good target to target. They're a really good ship to target and take out. So I gave it double steering to be able to help dodge those torpedoes. I love targeting Moskvas. I know other people do. Even with double steering, look at this. 9.84 seconds to turn. It's a long time. Time to full speed, 22.37 seconds. That's a long time. A long time. And so I was thinking about increasing the acceleration, but I didn't. The reason why is because from Moskva, find a safe distance and camp out there. And don't just camp there like for a long time, because with your surface section of 11 kilometers surface section, destroyers are going to see you before they see half of your teammates. Okay? And with the Shimakaze and the length of their torpedoes, let's look at that real quick. Shimakaze's torpedo length is 10, to their range is 10.61 kilometers, okay? So on your Moskva, a destroyer is gonna detect you very quickly, and the destroyer, you're not gonna be able to detect the destroyer unless the destroyer is 5.5 kilometers away from you. Trust me, if a destroyer is even 6 kilometers away from you, and they launch those 15 torpedoes, and your Moskva, you're not going to survive. There's no way. Even with increased acceleration, I mean, there's just almost no, there's no baiting torpedoes. You can dodge torpedoes, but you can't bait. You're just not good at baiting them in this ship. So I just didn't even give it a chance with acceleration mod. But it does need to be able to dodge them, okay? If you can detect them. If, say, your teammates detect torpedoes for you, I think they can do that. Actually, I don't know. I may have said some incorrect information. I think that something wants to tell me that if your teammates detect torpedoes, then you can see them as well. I think that's right. I could be wrong. I haven't really thought about that. I think that it's right. I'm just spewing out information. I think that's right. Don't quote me on it. In fact, someone let me know in the comment section. Is that correct? If your teammates detect torpedoes, is it correct that you can then see where they are as well? I think that that's right, but it might be wrong. Someone let me know in the comment section. In fact, multiple people, please let us know in the comment section so that we have multiple people verifying that information. Because I don't want to put it out there without verification. And so this is built as a support ship. AP rounds from a distance. You don't want to be aggressive. You don't want to YOLO. You want to stay as far as you can away from enemy ships. You don't have torpedoes. I did give it anti-air. I did give it air defense expert simply because while Victoria's charge may seem like a good option, at the same time, being the choice target for aircraft carriers, or one of the choice targets, I mean, your anti-aircraft isn't horrible, and it's not something that I would say it's great. I wouldn't say great. It's not horrible, it's not great. I'm actually hesitant to say good. It might be good. I might call it good. But I want to say either it's okay or it's good, but it's not great. Okay? And so I actually think that you're better off surviving. You're better off shooting down enemy planes to help yourself and your teammates than you are recovering 1.5% of your maximum HP. So yeah. Main battery firing range, I didn't give it increased 4%. You know why? Because that's not even 1 kilometer. It's not even one. It's like, it's so few hit points. Do the math. Take 14.14 multiply it by 1.04, and you'll see that it's not worth it. This is much more worth it. Torpedo damage reduction, fire and flooding resistance, ship hit points. Multiply 14.14 times 1.04, you'll see it's not worth it. So yeah, that's my equipment and my commander. And although you'll be doing lots of long range shots, you might think you might not need main battery. At first it might seem like shell dispersion is a better option, or reload time is a better option. I don't think it is. I tried that at first. That was my first option, my first choice. When I first played the Moskva, I actually went with shell dispersion, and then I tried reload time, and I actually found I just needed this. Every single battle, I was like, my main guns traverse so slow. I need faster. So I didn't like that I had to give up shell dispersion, but at the same time, I didn't necessarily need reduced shell dispersion because it's so accurate anyways. The main guns traverse at 6 degrees a second, and that's with my 20% traverse speed. With 20% increased traverse speed, my main guns still only traverse at 6 degrees a second. That is still frustrating. It's still in battle horrendous. It is so bad, and it's devastating if you have to target a ship that's close to you, that's moving in a way that requires you to traverse your main guns. They can just sail circles around you. You'll never catch up. Like, you're done. If a ship's sailing circles around you, you're just done. You're done. There's nothing you can do. You can fire your secondary guns, which traverse at 16 degrees a second, but your main guns are done. They're out of the battle. So long. Good luck. So keep your distance. Your support ship. Stay near your teammates. You need to do that. Surviving this ship. For the Henry, here is my commander skills, and here's my equipment setup, and here is my elite option. Now for the Henry, I think I've only played a couple battles in the Henry, like 2 or 3 battles I think I played in the Henry, and so I don't have much experience in the Henry, but I did show you some gameplay of one of my battles in my French cruiser tier 8 through 10 gameplay video. I play very aggressively. The way that I have this set up is perfectly capable of dodging, baiting and dodging torpedoes. I dodged walls and walls of torpedoes in that video. You may want to go watch it. It's very entertaining. Watching me play my Henry in my tier 8 through 10 French cruiser gameplay video. It's at the end of the video. It's the full match, the entire match. It is very amusing how I baited and dodged the walls of torpedoes that were coming my way. I also predicted them, so I knew they were coming. That's something you need to do, is predict enemy fire, predict their torpedoes, know when they're coming, and dodge them ahead of time, bait them, set them up ahead of time. Yeah, this is an aggressive build for the Henry. Get really good angles on launching its torpedoes and whatnot. Wow, this video is 3 hours and 10 minutes so far. 3 hours, 9 minutes. Oh my gosh. If any one of you listens to this entire video, please let me know. Please, and don't lie. Don't like skip to the end and listen to this part. I hope you didn't. I hope no one skips to the end, listens to this part, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna act like I listened to the whole thing. Please don't. I genuinely want to know who's honest. Please be honest. I want to know. I want to hear from the honest people who listened to every second of this video, because you guys are truly my biggest, like, #1 supporters, whatever you want to call it. The people that love listening to my videos and learning, you guys have the most potential because you're taking the most time to learn. And so you guys, I'm sorry to everyone else, but the people that watch all my videos, they're going to progress. Honestly, they're going to progress quicker than everyone else because they're taking the best tips that I have to offer and adding those, you know, to their, what's the word? Not inventory. What's the word for, like, your arsenal? Or is that the word? I have no idea. I never used that word. Adding it to their arsenal, is that even the right? I actually can't define arsenal, but I'm trying to use a word that means like your tool belt or whatever. Yeah, there we go. Your tool belt. Adding it to your tool belt, the things that you have to use in battle. The people that listen to everything that I have to say, they're going to progress the fastest, and they're going to be able to utilize all the tactics that they've developed themselves, plus all the best tactics that I have to teach. And so I really appreciate you guys, those that do take the time to listen to all this, because I honestly hope that I'm not creating my first 3-hour-long video and no one made it this far. That would be very disappointing, and I actually don't expect anyone to listen to all this in one go around. But if you listen to like 20 minutes at a time, or 5 minutes at a time, even if you listen to 5 minutes at a time and take a break every 5 minutes, and then one day, like after a few weeks, you finally end up listening to this whole thing, bravo, you deserve a really big cookie. Honestly. Or a cake, or a drink, grab a few beers, you know, you deserve it if you listen to this whole thing, because that's an accomplishment, man. I don't know anyone that'd be, honestly, I personally would not listen to 3 hours of anyone, not even 2 hours of anyone. I have a hard time listening to 1 hour of anyone, but for those that do, man, you're a real trooper. You know how to hang in there, and you're dedicated to learning. So you are awesome. I won't let you know that. You're awesome. And you can do something that I can't do. So even though I can't listen to anyone for 3 hours, just in case there's someone out there with the stamina, with the dedication to do this, bravo. I will, if I could, let me clap my hands for you. You deserve a round of applause. Good job, you made it this far. Yes. Okay, enough. Not that much. Not one more clap. That's all the claps you get. Just kidding. One more. Alright. So guys, I hope you guys learned something. I hope that this is... honestly, I really hope that this was useful. I feel like I gave a lot of really good information that will allow anyone to take this information and no longer need me for advice on setting up cruisers and the right commander skills, the right equipment, the way to play your ships. I think that you can take the knowledge that I've given here and apply it to any cruiser in any tier. And so, like, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to making more cruiser guides in the future for setting up stuff, but I don't want to make another 3-hour video. In fact, I hope that this is enough to allow me to focus on other content for the rest of my time making videos for this game, because man, this video took so long. I'm ready for it to be done, and I'm still just yabbering away and making it longer and longer. Maybe I can get to 4 hours. Maybe no, I'm just kidding. Definitely not. I'm ready for a break. But alright guys, I'm gonna stop the video now. Hope you enjoyed this, learned something. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Catch you guys next time.